Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello, hello.
You can see Friday night on Last Call with Troy Pacelli.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a really good one on Friday.
That was a lot of fun. And every time I have Michael French on, and Ned and I were talking about this after the stream. It's like you guys go because so you dropped out like after we said our goodbyes in the green room because you had to get to bed. Netter assumed that we were just going to say our goodbyes and be done. But then Michael and I started talking, like a couple of old women, and she's like, I had to pee so bad. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you should have just gone,
I figured that was going to happen. He's interesting people. I figured the two of you were going to have a big conversation. I would have loved to have stuck around, but it wasn't because of work. I was just dead dog tired because I've been having to get up early.
I know, yeah.
Due to
the situation.
House.
The situation, yeah.
Now they're doing molding, I think, on Monday.
Yeah.
And then I think the doors go back up, and then it's paint, then carpeting. I'm assuming all this stuff. I don't know anything. It could be something else.
I'm with you. But yeah, so that's what happened on Friday. But yeah, it was a really, really good stream, and I got a lot. I got between a post I put up on Twitter and Michael coming on and so forth. I got a good handful of new subscribers. I'm feeling pretty encouraged by that, So I was talking with him behind the scenes. I'm like, you know what? I might have to start watching the swears so that maybe I could start thinking about getting monetized.
Just say banana oil.
Banana oil, okay.
Just think what did your grandmother? Actually, I don't know what your grandmother did. Did she cuss or did she find sub words?
She swore in Italian, so yeah.
This is, before they did the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which we don't want to talk about. I kept thinking it would have been cool if they had an Ewok companion with the group, and the Ewok would speak English unless he cussed, and he would cuss an Ewok.
Yeah.
It would be like bad language, but an Ewok.
Well, see, and this is why I love stuff like in Empire Strikes Back when the protocol droid comes out and turns to 3PO and goes, Ichuta. And he's like, oh, how rude, and you have no idea what that means, but it's like, oh, it must be some kind of a, Star Wars swear word or something,
But have a great stream. Happy Father's Day to all and dads out there. Okay, thank you, Big Al. Horizon Talker.
Hello, the chat, he says.
Yes, I'm going to be walking through the stream, so I probably won't chat too much. Hope you all have a great show.
Fair enough, man. Thanks so much for stopping by.
He's spring cleaning.
Oh yeah.
It's spring though, is it? So never mind.
Yeah, are we past spring? Now we're into summer. Okay.
We're in the summer.
Officially, okay.
We're in June. I'm melting in here in Florida. We're in the summer already.
Dude, I would melt there in winter time.
No, it's the worst in August.
Is it?
August.
I would imagine.
Tell you last August? I think you guys were around for that.
Did I tell you in last August I burst into flames?
Last August, our air conditioner went out.
Oh God! Oh God!
Get the guy out there till Monday.
Oh God!
Yeah, it was.
You lost 40 pounds over that weekend.
I'm sure I lost something. The Flash flushed. Okay. I try to come up with these clever titles that aren't so clever, and I don't know, like something fizzles or something. I'm thinking, well, what do you think? That it's like the Flash flushed down the toilet,
Yeah.
Box office. Yeah. I don't know. The Flash flushed. Okay, not my best work. It's funny. I used to call the Flash TV show the Flush when it was starting to bug me. I would call it the Flush.
There you go.
Get past season 3. I was like, I'm done.
That's fair.
I stopped with. Of course, I have a suspicion that the Flash TV show is brilliant compared to what came out in this movie, but I haven't seen it. Oh, deleted scenes, welcome. Hail the chat. Hail deleted scenes.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about all of that later. I of course have no intention of seeing it, but I will give the impressions based on what I have been hearing around the interwebs.
I didn't get a chance to check out your pre-show, but I will. I don't know if you were discussing the Flash, but it reminds me of what you were telling me about the Snowman, how they just released an unfinished piece of junk and hope people would go see it. And I don't know if that's what the Flash is like. I know Big Al was not a fan.
I'll tell you, I'm probably gonna comment a little bit about what Tom Connors was saying, not quoting him or anything, but just giving my impression of his rant about it. He kind of got hot about it.
Yeah. I wasn't too surprised that it flops. Some with Elemental. I was expecting a reverse Uno with Cars being a success in 2006, while Superman Returns didn't do well financially.
Yeah.
Well, hope springs eternal that Warner Brothers may get their act together among the superhero movies.
Yeah, you never know, but
no, you never know.
We will be touching on the transitionary concept of this Flash movie and trying to parse that out too.
I'm not hopeful, but I want to do a presentation here real quick. Let me look for my.
Are we going to talk about the good old days?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, geeky geezer, you.
Yeah, no, that's not what I want. Hold on, give me 1 sec.
He tries to get all clever and technical, and this is what happens.
You're making it worse.
I know. It's my job.
Where the heck is it? Did it not get saved to the desktop? Bear with me, folks. Give me 2 seconds. How's everybody? Huh? Did anybody go see the new Wes Anderson movie? Huh? There it is. It's here.
Anderson.
It's here as a PDF. That's
Wes
a PDF.
Anderson.
Let me put the PDF in here. You'll let me put the other PDF. Give me 1 sec. 1 sec. Your computer, yeah, from my computer.
I don't know how many.
That's what I didn't do. I didn't upload the file.
There you go. I don't know how many of you all might have heard it on. I don't know if I mentioned it on Netter's stream or my own, but I finally got around to seeing John Wick, which many of you have been recommending, and Netter and I both enjoyed it very much. You guys were spot on. In fact, Netter made the rather brilliant observation. It reminded her a lot of The Punisher, which actually is a favorite of hers, which surprised me at the time.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
John Wick is kind of like that. John Wick is interesting in that he was an assassin that basically decided to retire and not be part of that world anymore because he got married, but then he got dragged back into it when.
What's so sad about it is, well, there's a lot of stuff that's sad about it, but he was out of it, and because of a dumb kid who didn't know who he was and thought who the heck he was, just when he thought he was out, he gets pulled back in, and so you get that line from his father, you don't know what you did or who you did it to. I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact line, but
Check out the second one when you get a chance.
Yeah, we're planning to. It's just you can only do so much in one day.
It's fine. There's no rush. I mean, you can let the first one settle in, but
right. Maybe even watch it again before we go into the second one.
Possibly, yeah. Summer of '89 movies. Do you remember the summer of 1989? Were you an avid moviegoer at this time?
I absolutely was. 89 was. Let me think. That would have been my graduation year. Yeah, this was my senior year in high school.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. We go ahead. I feel the first movie of summer of '89 is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, May 24th. I think that came out. Or was it
we spent a lot of time on this one not last night, the night before on Friday. You might want to check that out for a more in-depth conversation with subject matter expert Michael French of Retro Blasting. But yeah.
He knows his stuff when it comes to American popular culture. But I didn't get a chance to talk too much about this on Friday myself. I just wanted to say. I was past my Indiana Jones phase. I went through phases as a kid, but I do remember when this came out that this was a big deal, and I enjoyed it. It was a fun summer movie. It was nice seeing Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones again, and I think this was my first introduction really to Sean Connery.
Yeah.
So I would later revisit his old Bond movies much later, but this was a fun time. This was good times. I enjoyed it. Spielberg, the tank action sequence I loved.
Yeah, being a little older than you, I had already known all the Connery Bond, the Highlander, and so forth.
Right.
heck, even when you're talking Bond, never say never again. You know,
yeah.
And so this one did kind of come off a lot as kind of a cross between. It was like a meeting of Indiana Jones and James Bond, which that part of the original concept was that Indiana Jones was meant to be like an American answer to James Bond.
Yeah.
So it made perfect sense. And you mentioned that tank sequence. Of course, one of the things Michael talked about on Friday, he built a custom Lego of that tank to go with his Indiana Jones displays in the Lego, play sets and whatnot. And a few weeks ago at Toylanta, no, not Toylanta, Joe Fest, somebody in the community gifted him a piece of the tread from that tank from that movie.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's really cool because those treads, at least in the movie, were rubber. So it started breaking up, and somebody got a hold of pieces of it and took a piece of it, put it into this kind of cool box, kind of reminiscent of the box that the Ark of the Covenant was put into with straw and whatnot. And then he turns to Tony from Analog Toys, and he goes, "Oh, and I got something for you." And he hands him this little, I don't know, some kind of a box that a toy would come in. And Tony was all excited. He thought he was getting a tank tread, and he looks, and he's like, "Oh, thanks." And he goes, "Open it up." And he opens it up. It's a tank tread. But it wasn't in the cool box. He's like, "You have to go through customs to get back to Australia. I figured this would be easier." And he's like, "Oh, man, that's such good thinking." Exactly. So.
Oh, but no, yeah, that's a cool little souvenir to have.
Right.
Pink Cadillac, didn't realize this was the summer of '89, but I remember seeing it in the theater.
I saw it in the theater too, as a matter of fact. Not at all what I was expecting, given it was Clint Eastwood, but I always had a thing for Bernadette Peters,
Yeah.
So I mean,
a lot of young men did.
A lot of young men that were kind of into, like musical theater too. So not necessarily the same kind of thing that I had for her, but you get the idea anyway.
But yeah, good little movie. I think he plays a bounty hunter or something in this, right? Yeah, it was a good little Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
Dead Poets Society. I still have not seen this. Don't yell at me.
No. Because I was going to say I definitely did not see it in '89. I didn't see it till years later. Actually, I don't know if it was cable or I don't know how or when I saw it, but it was one of those things that I saw it as being one of those kind of artsy movies that I probably wouldn't have been interested in back at the time. But then I started going through the whole Robin Williams phase and starting to really appreciate his more dramatic roles. And I was like, I guess I got to check this out. Very good movie.
Yeah, dearly missed Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred. I didn't see this either. I assume this is the wrestling movie.
Presumably, I'm not sure that I saw it.
WWE Responsible. Well, we'll move on then. I meant to watch a review of it before the show. Anybody in the chat seeing any of these movies, let me know, all right? Renegades with Kiefer Sutherland and Blue
Diamond Phillips. I probably saw this, but I probably saw it on cable.
Something on cable, yeah. Not really what I like these movies. I don't really think of them as summer blockbusters, but
not really a blockbuster, yeah.
And they were out in theaters.
If I can't remember now this one I definitely remember, dude. Let me tell you, there is a scene in this movie where Nicolas Cage puts on those what are they called, the fake teeth. And this was when I started to realize this guy's knucking futs. I think this is where it starts.
Yeah, it has Maria Conchita Alonso was in this too, right? I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is we think of Nick Cage. He's doing stuff now. He was doing stuff then too.
Yep. He's always been a little bit off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, this happened.
Yeah.
I was angry.
I wasn't angry, but I was disappointed.
Maybe that's more accurate. I was because I was not a fan. I think the first season of TNG had premiered this prior year, right up to this movie coming out.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't like this new crew. I don't like Wesley Crusher. He gets on my last nerve. But here we go. Old crew back. Big budget movie. Can't wait to go see it. And I saw it. It's like, no.
I wonder if people's reaction to this might have kind of helped them to digest Next Generation.
Maybe. I know TNG gets better with the second season. I think it definitely got better in season 3. Yeah, this was rough.
Yeah, no, Al's like, what does God need with a starship? You don't ask the Almighty for his credentials.
That's a good line.
It is
funny. There's that scene when he says, "Why does God need a starship?" He keeps asking that. I think with that being that was
no. Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was Spock who says it first,
yeah.
And then it's Kirk that's like, but he's got a point. What does God need with a starship?
And then he shoots lightning out of his eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
My brother said, "It is God." Like he shoots him with lightning out of his eyes. Oh no!
That was great because if I remember correctly, we get to see images of God as portrayed by different, Star Trek races or whatever,
right.
But of course, it's not a God. And what's interesting is there's been a lot of fan speculation. There was a story in the Next Gen where a race very similar gives through a probe, or I don't remember what the technology was, but Barclay ends up getting his brain, supercharged, and he links into the ship, and it's kind of like that movie with Jodie Foster. He takes the ship to meet the alien race, and it's a big head, and he's bipeds and this and that. And a lot of people have speculated, hey, maybe it's the same race. One of their prisoners they stuck in the middle of the galaxy in a prison, but then later on, they wanted to make contact, and instead of like us going to them, they bring specimens to them. Very interesting concept.
That was a good episode. I remember that. Yeah. This, though, from what I recall, this was William Shatner wanted to do a script where the Enterprise goes to meet God and finds the devil instead. I think Gene Roddenberry wanted to do this script where the Enterprise goes to meet God and God is the villain because, of course, Gene Roddenberry would.
Yeah.
And then the studio's exec stepped in and said, "No, have me some alien. Don't do this devil or God."
Which, honestly, in this instance, I'm going to say that's the right call because that's more Trek. That's how Trek dealt with things like this. But there's a lot of other smaller things in there. Shatner wanted a reason for there to be horses, so that's why there's horses in this movie. And he wanted to do some rock climbing because he was a rock climber, so that's why there's this rock climbing scene. And a bunch of just pointless things just because that's what Shatner wanted. And it's one of those examples where you don't let the star be in charge because it, and if we learned it if we didn't learn it Star Trek V with Shatner, we definitely learned it Star Trek Picard by letting Patrick Stewart be in charge and do whatever he wanted to do. Everybody's got their role in a movie, okay? Let the director direct, let the writers write, and you just shut up and act.
Yes. Ghostbusters 2?
Yep. Yeah, I remember at the time fans, had their issues with it, didn't think it was as good a movie, but you know what? And maybe this is another one of those examples, maybe after 2016 we look back with a great deal more fondness.
Yes.
But yeah, there were some missed opportunities there, but still good. Still really good and holds up really well. Great film.
Yeah. What I'll say is this: I remember as a kid being disappointed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue the first half is solid.
Yeah.
I think I got bugged about Janine getting with what's his name, Lewis, instead of Spengler. I always thought Janine was supposed to pair up with him.
I did like how they resolve it a little bit in the afterlife.
Right.
Because you get the impression that they still always had like a real close relationship. But you then also find out that probably why they didn't end up together was because he had another relationship with someone else.
Okay.
That resulted in a daughter, that resulted in a granddaughter, you know.
That's fine. That's fine. And there's a lot of good stuff in this. The courtroom scene is a favorite of mine.
Yes, that is brilliant. Yes.
It's the best scene when the judge finally says, he basically throws the book at him. And the negative energy he gives off resurrects the Scaleri brothers, which were two criminals like back in the 30s or something,
right,
be sent to the electric chair, and they show up and they're in the electric chairs they were in.
Yep.
And they explode, and
they literally and the effect was done by like a kind of puppetry. You know, that's what the Scaleri brothers were. But seeing the ghosts of the Scaleri brothers come up out of the beaker of the psychomagnetheric slime, it's like the imagination that went into all of these Ghostbuster films, I just think is brilliant.
Yeah. So, good enough sequel, I'll say that. I'm going to give it a pass now.
Absolutely.
And I did want to make a point. DeForest Kelly was quite good.
He was probably at his best in that movie, yeah.
I think all the actors gave perfectly good performances. I just think...
It's just what they were given to work with sometimes, right?
In the oven, and some of the jokes in that were not flying. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, and that was another one of those films that was great. It was brilliant. Take off on a theme we had seen previously, but done well, in the modern day. Then we got sequels that probably should never have happened.
Yeah, I don't even know.
But, of course, a little bit more Rick Moranis after the Ghostbusters. So, welcome, Potawatomi. And, yeah, he's agreeing with me. 2016 really helped us appreciate Ghostbusters 2 that bit much more,
By the way, if you notice on that poster, there's an advertisement for a Who Framed Roger Rabbit short.
Yes.
They were advertising with the movie, kind of.
And what was great about that is, they because it was... the same company, what they would do is they would kind of cross-pollinate in that way, in a very nostalgic kind of way, because then you get the cartoon before the main feature.
Yeah, well, this was a Disney release. Disney did have releases back then, and before they hit their renaissance with Little Mermaid. This was from what I remember, this was a hit.
They're having another renaissance with Little Mermaid, I understand.
And of course, we've talked about this in our good old days before, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but this was the movie of the summer. This was Batman. 89, huge deal. Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, King Basinger. This was this. I thought Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was the big summer movie, and then I saw this, and this was what took the summer. Yeah.
And let me tell you, this was also the one that took all the toy sales as well. Michael's got plenty of videos about the missteps on the Indiana Jones toys, but there's also plenty of toy videos out there about how humongous the toy sales were for Batman. And that's what drove all of these movies, were those toy sales.
I had a little Batmobile die-cast thing. I had the figures, and I noticed that a lot of those Batman figures, they were re-releases of figures from the...
Well, here's what happened.
Yeah,
the Superpowers collection was before this, and they were very much in the George Perez style. In fact, his artwork appears on the cards, and so they were very comic book accurate.
Okay,
and that's why they existed the way they did. When this came out, and that had been Kenner that had those. I think they went to LJN when they did Batman 89, and they tried to sort of copy the style of those superpowers, but they were a little bit bigger, a little bit chunkier. You could kind of see the nod to those, and a lot of us that had collected those superpowers collection were like, I guess I got to get these too. By the time we got past the first run of the Batman 89, they were like, yeah, let's go back to Kenner. And Kenner pulled out their old molds and then re-released the figures or I shouldn't say re-release, but their own versions of the figures that came out with Batman '89, Joker and Batman and so forth.
Yeah.
But in that much better, much more faithful to the superpowers style, but with the face sculpts that looked a lot more like Michael Keaton. Those lips, because I'll tell you what, those face sculpts on the LGN were nightmare fuel. They looked like their faces were melting off or just rounded off or whatever.
I think I had those. I remember getting the figures after the movie came out.
Yeah. Did you have the Batman that had, you'd pull on his belt and it would, winch back into his stomach?
I think so.
Yeah, I like the idea, but poorly executed.
I had Sideshow Bob, I had the Joker, and then I got Mr. Freeze and Penguin, which were not the movie styled ones. But yeah, in fact, I don't even know if the Joker was either. I think the Joker might have been. Actually, no, he had the top hat, didn't he? I don't know. He had like a big purple fedora, is what he had.
Because I had one. Potawatomi for him. Michael Keaton, best Batman ever. Yes, exactly.
I remember a rumor of this Batman being $100 when it was going to release a videotape. I want to tell you something. Back in the day, videotape releases typically were $100.
Yeah.
They would sell them to the rental stores. I could be wrong, though. I know my brother went out and bought this when it came out on videotape. So I know at least before that Christmas, it was made price to own.
Yeah.
You remember that. So
it was right around 89 when they started thinking of home video sales as literally being home video sales and making them cost effective up until that. And I know this because I actually worked for a video store. Yeah, most videos were over $100 on their early release, and those were not considered to be commercial releases. Those were wholesale to video stores. So most people got a lot of their VHSs as secondary sales from their local video stores. What would happen is a video store would get, depending on how big the video store was, anywhere from 10 to 40 of one title. Yeah. So you could imagine that's like $4,000 on Batman movies, right? And they would make a ton of money from rentals, just turning them over for weeks. Then as it started to slow down, at their discretion, they would just start selling them off. And then they recoup as much of their money as they could until they were down to like 2 or 3 copies, which they just kept in circulation.
Remember the old days of going to the video store like Blockbuster and you want to get Batman and they're all out?
Yeah, I do. Which honestly was why you ended up seeing a lot of movies that you wouldn't have otherwise seen.
Yeah, that's true. Like Karate Kid Part 3, which apparently no one bothered to see. Yes.
I'll tell you, this is another one, Karate Kid 3, much better film on subsequent views than we originally gave it credit for. Because, you go into it and you're expecting some of the grandeur of the first 2 films, and it's just not there. But the story and character development is. And if you don't believe me, make sure you check out Cobra Kai, because Cobra Kai does a great job of redeeming a lot of elements of every element of the Karate Kid going before it.
This is actually the point in the series where he's going up against true villains.
Yes.
In this movie. It's the first one, Kreese is bad, but even Kreese, even on Cobra Kai, he's not the worst villain. This is where you get introduced to, what's his name? I always forget his name, but the ponytail guy.
Yeah, he was the big bad in this past season.
I had a nightmare that I was in his house, like this past week. Terry Silver, that's his name.
Terry Silver, right.
I was in Terry Silver's house, and I was trying to get out of there before he noticed I was there. And then, are you here to take part in the training? And I was like, no, I just want to get out of there. And I have a feeling he was going to start beating me up. It was just, I don't know why. It was
secondary villain they bring in, of course, the bad boy of karate, Mike Barnes,
yes.
Who also returned this past season in Cobra Kai. Are you caught up on Cobra Kai?
I am, and I love it when he says, you guys are drunk, and I can tell from his eyes that he's on something else.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea to confront Terry Silver. I don't want to say anything more for those of you.
Yeah. The whole thing, the whole thing with Mike Barnes, big. What do you? It would be a spoiler to talk about, but it subverts your expectations in the best way, and that's why I don't want to ruin it for you. It's the kind of thing you need to see. There's a lot of these elements that you get in Cobra Kai where everybody has some growing up to do. They've done a lot of growing up, but they still have some misconceptions about each other and the past that need to be resolved, as you often do as an adult. So you definitely got to check that out. We'll talk more about it when we're getting closer to the release of the next season of Cobra Kai, because I will certainly do a Karate Kid retrospective.
If you can't breathe, you can't fight. And this is where, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball came from. It wouldn't surprise me.
If they weren't inspired by that, I'd be shocked. Yeah, probably.
Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee joint, Danny Aiello. Remember that? I don't know if you saw that or not. I
did, but I have very fuzzy memory about it. I saw anything that Danny Aiello was in, so.
Good actor. Great Balls of Fire with Dennis Quaid.
Love that movie. Love the soundtrack. I really like Jerry Lee Lewis, so yeah, I really like this movie.
Yeah. I think I've seen it in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Lethal Weapon 2. Warner Brothers was having a banging summer. They did Batman, and then they have this come out. This was a huge, huge hit when it came out.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah.
Mel Gibson, Danny Glover introduces Joe Pesci into the series, right?
That's right.
Good action comedies. Yeah. Weekend at Bernie's. I did see this in the theater when it came out. I remember that.
This is a ridiculous film in the best way. Mm-hmm. It's a hysterical comedy. Never should have gotten a sequel, but it leans into its own absurdity. So it's kind of, self-referential,
I didn't see the sequel. At the end, is Bernie piloting the space shuttle or something?
I don't even remember. It's just so ridiculous. It's like, how is this even? And I'll tell you, it became a trope. It's one of those touchstone films that you really need to see it to get jokes from other movies later on. Yeah. Because just other films reference it. Because even if you didn't see this movie in '89, most people were aware of the concept. For whatever reason, keeping a corpse and pretending he's alive and walking him around, and how clueless people think, oh, he just fell asleep or he's ignoring me, or, it's just ridiculous.
Mother effer, that's Armor from Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Okay, When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, this is a classic. Waiter, there is too much paprika on my paprikash, but I will proudly partake of your pecan pie. I don't know why that's what I chose to quote from this movie when I know so much about Beanie Fishmouth. Beanie Fishmouth is just sweeping the country.
I miss comedies. You could have comedies come out, modestly budgeted. Big thing about them was, of course, the actors they cast them, and they would do great box office.
Yeah.
The trouble is, these days, they don't like to do comedies. I think the only one I know of coming out this summer is that one with Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, right. The first woman in film or something, right?
She'll say next that this is the first time we had a leading lady in a comedy. She'll say that next, probably.
But When Harry Met Sally, you may recall, Carrie Fisher was a co-star in that film.
Yeah,
we'll talk
movies.
Yeah, we'll touch on her a little bit in our first upcoming segment. But yeah, License to Kill, Timothy Dalton. This was his first one, right?
Second one.
Oh, this was his second one.
This was the one from what I watched on the documentary, this one did not do good at the box office, and this had kind of put the Bond movies on hiatus for a while. Of course, I was talking with Birdman. He said it wasn't that it didn't do well; it was the fact that there was all sorts of licensing issues caught up with the Bond franchise, and that's what stalled it.
So I did not know that, but
We
there
didn't
was
get another one until '95. It was 6 years later, and we got another Bond movie.
Yeah, and there's a bit of irony there because I was not a Timothy Dalton fan.
Right.
Did not, well, and I just had sour grapes over the fact that it was Timothy Dalton and not Pierce Brosnan. You know, anybody who was a James Bond fan at the time knew that Pierce Brosnan was up for the role and was denied getting out of his contract for Remington Steele.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, if you were a James Bond fan, you were probably a Remington Steele fan. And so, yes, you did want to see him in Remington Steele, but they wouldn't release him from his contract. And I think they were pretty much done with the show. So there was no reason he shouldn't have been able to go and do, you know. But I just wasn't a huge Timothy Dalton fan in general. Wasn't going to see this movie. The reason I saw it, and this is where the license part comes in, right around the time License to Kill came out, they did, and I don't remember what company it was, had the license to do comic books for James Bond. They did one called License Revoked, which indirectly, obliquely referenced this. And I'm like, I'm going to have to see this, because it was a good comic.
Comics?
Oh, yeah. The problem with them was they were irregular. They were, you know, onesie twosies, and you never knew when they were going to come out. It wasn't like every month, like, you know, most of our favorite comics. Prestige format, really good artwork. So yeah, License Revoked. I know I still have it here somewhere.
This was supposed to be the original title for this movie. It was supposed to be License Revoked, but then they changed it to License.
I'm wondering if that's part of the relationship between the two. But yeah, so I ended up seeing this just for that reason, and that's the only reason I ended up seeing this one. But
I think the true star of this, though, is the actor who played the villain. Who's the villain in this? I know that Benicio del Toro was the henchman in this movie.
Yes, he was. That's right.
License to Kill.
And that's why the next movie I saw him in, I was like, that's that guy. Where do I know him from? And it's because I don't remember this movie that well.
License to Kill, Sanchez, played by... Why do any things ever pop up when I need them to? Robert Davi.
Okay.
Robert Davi, that's his name. Yes, really good in it, actually. He had some good one-liners in it. But Remington Spree was doing Pierce dirty, yes. Oh, it's okay. You know, nap all you need to, Netter. I know you had a busy day. But
yeah, I'd already explained, that she was having to lie down because it was...
more of these I got to do. But yeah, License to Kill, I still enjoy it, but it kind of... Bond was on ice for a while.
And don't get me wrong, I definitely have it in my Bond collection. I've got all the DVDs because, you know, own physical media.
Yeah, you got to have them.
UHF.
Didn't catch this until it came on cable. This is one I would have loved seeing in the theater, though. This was a lot of fun. Still is funny to watch.
Wheel of Fish!
Oh, my favorite is what is it? What is it, Raoul's House of Pets or something, or House of Animals?
Yeah.
Wild Kingdom. Raoul's Wild Kingdom, and he's let's see if today we're going to teach poodles how to fly, and he throws them.
yeah.
And then Weird Al's like, he's asking his partner, he's saying, "Where did you find this guy? Where did I find him? I thought you found this guy." It's like, how did he even get a show on?
I'm pretty sure that we did a watch party of UHF over on Big Al's channel, so definitely check that out, guys.
I either joined you or I was watching along. I don't remember, but
yeah.
Turner and Hooch.
Oh, not see, and this was at the point when I really did like Tom Hanks, and I saw this and I was like, and then they tried doing a sequel on Disney Minus, and you know,
which no one talks about, you know, which
there's a reason for that, you know.
Oh wait, that's a Hi, Sweetie. Big Al had. Badgers, we don't need no stinking badgers.
Badgers, right, exactly.
The Treasure Sandra Madre, but yeah. Friday 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. When you get into August in the old days, actually, I say in the old days, even now, August is kind of the dry month. This is
right.
People are going to start going back to school. Summer's over, but you're still getting movies. Friday 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. Parenthood.
Parenthood was a good one. I liked that one. Yeah, definitely.
I kept thinking when I was doing this list, where the heck is Stallone this summer? And then
Yep.
I was,
Lock Up. Great. I like this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it's kind of Rambo in prison.
My dad was a police captain in New Jersey and was offered to be able to go be on police duty while they were shooting at the prison. This was a shot at a prison in New Jersey, but he declined. But so other cops got to go. I was like, oh, why did you get to go? That would have been cool. You could have been on the movie set.
Yeah, this is the movie that I thought of when I saw The Watchmen. Because I could totally see Stallone saying, "You're in here with me. I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me."
Solid. I think Donald Sutherland is the evil prison warden. Is that the impression I got from this? I did finally watch it a few years ago, and I enjoyed it. But
how did they get that cruise ship in the lake?
All right. Oh,
young Einstein. Oh, I honestly. Okay, so you know me. You know how I am with history and stuff like that. I saw this as a kid. I was, a high school kid, right? And I saw this, and I'm like, what am I watching here? Young Einstein learns to split the atom trying to make beer. I'm like, what is happening? But it was so funny.
It was trying to put bubbles into beer.
Well, that's what it was, trying to put bubbles into beer.
Because the one guy he gives the beer, what I think it was in Australia, he said, what we've been trying to do here is we've been trying to figure out a way to put bubbles into beer. We just can't figure it out. And that's when he decides to split the atom.
Right. And I'm just old enough to, not only have really read a lot about the real Einstein, right? But also know enough about beer to know how it's made and why there is bubbles in beer. And I see this and I'm like, what is this? What am I watching? Why? But I'm laughing, and that pretty much answered my question, Yeah.
Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Again, didn't even know it came out this summer, but this was a big Miramax movie, and I guess ushered in the indie movies we would see in the 90s.
Absolutely. Good movie in retrospect.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, this was my graduation year, so I was just going into college, working at a video store, so I definitely wanted to make sure I saw this movie. If you saw it for the title and for the, woo around it, you'd have probably been disappointed, but the story element, it makes you think a little bit, maybe make you feel dirty in a bad way after you've seen it, but that's actually a good thing for a conversation, a high-minded conversation. Definitely worth checking out. And a lot of the Miramax films were like that.
Yeah. The Abyss, big James Cameron movie. I don't think I've seen this since the theater, to be honest with you, when I saw this. So.
I want to say, wasn't there a rewatch that Big Al did?
I think he did, yeah.
And I think there was, because there's two different versions.
Right.
There's like the director's cut and the original release. I'll be honest with you, I like the movie fine, but what's even more interesting, as is the case with many films, the behind the scenes story is far more interesting in my opinion. The making of and what they did to make this movie and whatnot. Yeah. And you can find those kinds of things online.
Yeah. The Abyss Special Edition is wonderful. I'll take your word for it. I do have a copy of it on DVD that I got from somebody, so maybe I'll finally watch the Cameron edit. Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child.
Yeah, did see it. Didn't much like it.
Well, that's it. That's all we need to go by. They were hit or miss, weren't they? And
this was a classic.
Yeah, we end with Uncle Buck with John Candy, and actually no, we don't end with Uncle Buck. We got one more, but yeah, Uncle Buck, good classic. I don't know if I'd put it quite up there with like a Weird Science, but it's a good John Hughes movie. It's good. It's a B+ or an A-.
This one, oh, I mean, this is quintessential John Candy, right?
Yeah.
And he's got to take care of the kids, and he's the typical John Candy F up, right? And he goes into to the school because his niece, I think her name was Millie or something like that, was having some problems and whatnot. And the principal or whatever has this huge hairy mole on her face, and he's like, his eye is just drawn to it. He's like, ugh. And he's introducing himself. Hi, I'm Buck Melanoma. Molly Russell's wart. Not her wart, her tumor. Her tumor. Oh, it's just all downhill from there. But yeah. This is classic.
It's a wonderful scene though when he's talking to her and she says she's not taking life very seriously now, is she?
She's a child.
She's 4 years old or something.
Yeah. I mean, my gosh, yeah, no, and he's spot on, right? You know, I mean, he's it's good stuff. If you haven't seen that movie, we'll definitely do a watch party of that at some point, no doubt. Oh, Eddie and the Cruisers too, yeah.
Well, and with that, I just threw that in there because I know you had done a rewatch of that.
Yeah, we did a two-parter, Eddie and the Cruisers and Eddie and the Cruisers 2. Friday night was on my channel, and then the Saturday was on Big Al's. Great soundtracks, both films. John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. Yeah, and this one, as I recall, do you know anything about the box office on this? I'm not thinking it did that great, but great films that I think got much better reception when they were released on, I almost said streaming, but, on cable.
And on video, and people forget that secondary market has kind of disappeared because of the fall of DVD sales, and now here we are with our modern blockbusters. They filmed The Abyss in Gaffrey's up the road, Piece for Me. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Without Uncle Bunk, there'd be no Home Alone. Yes, that's absolutely true. I didn't want to go that far into it, but you're absolutely right about that.
Al says he hasn't done an Abyss rewatch yet.
Oh, okay. Somebody did, though. Didn't they?
Oh, somebody did. Didn't Editors Network, maybe?
Oh, probably right. When we were in the A's. That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Right.
So, well, thank you all for coming to this stream. What do you got going on this week? I feel like that was a stream in and of itself, but now we have to do...
I know, we're 47 minutes in, and it was just the good old days.
I'm going to have to zip through. Am I going to have to nix the Grimace story? I don't think I can do that, but we'll see.
Well, you're the one that brought that up. I saw that. I'm like, the hell is this?
Hey, it's part of popular culture. Grimace is a classic. We'll get to it. I don't want to get out of breath. We have some in remembrances tonight, so you want to go post the link?
Yes, I do. But first, let me give you something
to show. That's right.
Yeah, just a little bit. But first, well, go ahead. You can bring it up. It's not going to hurt anything. This is the movie that I remember. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Nope, my apologies. Let me bring that back again. The heck? Get up there. There we go. This was the first movie that I saw Treat Williams in, and this is kind of where I remember him from. So this was where I kind of wanted to start out. And it's an obscure film. I'm guessing that with the exception of maybe deleted scenes and David Pensack, probably nobody else in the stream has probably seen this movie. But yeah, this is where I started to know about Treat Williams. I know you have, Ned, or I wouldn't have given you a choice. But
I saw it before I knew you.
Oh, really? Okay, fair enough. But yeah, Treat Williams dies at 71 following a vehicular collision in Vermont.
Yeah. This came as a shock to me, too. But yeah, Treat Williams, known for his roles in Hair and Everwood, died following a vehicular accident in Dorset Monday, according to police. He was 71. The Vermont State Police confirmed the death in a statement online, saying Williams was driving along Morse Hill Road at approximately 4:53 p.m. when his motorcycle was unable to avoid a Honda SUV and the two vehicles collided. The Vermont State Police is investigating a crash between an SUV and a motorcycle Monday afternoon, June 12th, 2023 in Dorset, in which the operator of a motorcycle suffered fatal injuries. The statement read, the motorcyclist is identified as Richard Treat Williams, 71 of Manchester Center, Vermont. According to police, the crash happened on Vermont Route 30, just sort of Moores Hill. Initial investigation indicates that the element stopped signal, turned left, and then turned to the path of northbound 1986 Honda motorcycle operated by Williams. Statement read, according to police, Williams was unable to avoid the oncoming vehicle and was thrown from his motorcycle. He was airlifted to Albany Medical Center in Albany, New York, where he was pronounced dead. That's a shame. We all know Treat Williams. I mean, we've seen him in movies, like you were saying, the one you saw here.
This one, and this is a bit of a fuzzy memory. I remember loving this film, but I don't remember the details real well. As I recall, it was kind of on the par, kind of like an action adventure version of DOA, where Treat Williams' character is essentially dead. He's a zombie, but he is working with his partner to solve his own murder or something like that, as I recall. I think that's what it was. But this is what I also wanted to share with you, and this is why I think this is important to our audience. Treat Williams was in a lot of movies. Yeah, Everwood, which was on the channel that became the CW. I don't remember if it was the CW at the time.
Yes.
Really good show. Yeah, I loved that show. But I think a lot of people, if you weren't really into it at the time, you probably have never even heard of it or know about it. But
episodes. In fact, that's where what's his name? One of the Chris's got their start. Star-Lord, he was on that show.
Oh, was he? I didn't even realize. Oh, that's right. He played the boyfriend of the daughter or whatever. Or yeah.
It was an interesting show because he was a brilliant doctor that decided to, I guess, sort of retire to Everwood, so we would give medical care for free there, and they had kind of a contention with the local doctor there. But I think they became friends later on in the show, and it was an interesting.
It was a good dramatic show. But as David Pensack was pointing out, he got his start in a little independent film, or sequel to an independent film called The Empire Strikes Back, where he was an uncredited background character in the Hoth scenes. And so here he is with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher.
Look at that.
Yep.
They should have used him more in Star Wars. I think he would have been good.
I agree with you 100%. But now I want to customize one of my rebel soldiers to, say specifically that's, Treat Williams, But
speaking of modding or whatever, I like Sattler more over Super Soakers. They look like they mean business.
I think we'll go with that for the time being.
I enjoy those. I actually like those. Those are good for the summer, I think. Actually.
I agree. So
Treat Williams also in Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, Deep Pensack caught that up. But yeah. I'm sad to see him go. He was the villain in The Phantom, remember, with Billy Zane? He was Xander Drax in that.
Yeah, I'd actually forgotten that, but yeah, you reminded me of that.
He was in the Substitute 2, the one without Tom Berenger, where he was the guy in Substitute 2.
That's right. And I actually, wasn't there a Substitute 3 as well?
He was in it as well, yes.
Yep.
What's her name?
Yeah, he was the Substitute Tom Berenger. You're absolutely right.
He was... I like those movies because what is it? They get like this ex-mercenary guy, and he's in there with the inner city kids in the school. He's a substitute teacher, and of course,
yeah.
I think there's one scene where like this one kid is drinking a big orange soda in his class, and like I said, did you bring enough to share or something? The guy's like, no. And then I think he does something while he's giving his little lesson. He flicks like a yo-yo at it, and smashes the bottle in front of the kid. And the soda goes everywhere. It's just. It was the way of showing he meant business in the class without being outright violent to the student. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But no, he'll be missed. I'm shocked to see he's gone. I'm sure we'll be seeing some tribute.
Yeah, it's been that we're usually losing people because age, sickness, so forth. This one's kind of tragic. This was
unfortunate accident.
An accident. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a manslaughter thing coming along with the other drivers,
but yeah,
sad to lose.
But we do have another one. This one again. This one is definitely age related. 93, but a great legend of the comic industry, John Romita, legendary Marvel Comics artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can read a bit from that article. Did you have any images you want to share, or do you want to save those?
Why don't you go ahead and read, and then we'll share.
Okay. John Romita, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yep.
One of the last great comic book artists from the golden age of comics, who redefined Spider-Man for multiple generations after succeeding Steve Ditko as an artist for Amazing Spider-Man, and who served as a Marvel's art director from 1973 until the mid-90s, has passed away at the age of 93, according to his son, comic book superstar artist John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
Born in Brooklyn, New York, Romita graduated from Manhattan School of Industrial Art in 1947. He broke into comics 2 years later, doing some stories for Famous Funnies. Then, when working at a lithograph company, Romita met a friend of his from high school, Lester Zakarin. Zakarin was working for Martin Goodman Comic Book Company, most typically referred to as Timely Comics at the time, but there was no set name for it. But it was struggling with his penciling assignments. He offered Romita a deal where Romita would pencil Zakarin's assignments, and he would then ink Romita's pencils, splitting the fee he was receiving for penciling and inking the pages himself. So there's more that goes on here, but I want to get into what his big thing in the 60s. So by the 1960s, however, romance comics were beginning to die out. So that's what he had been working on. So Romita had transitioned to mostly doing advertising work. However, Stan Lee had heard that Romita was on the outs with DC, so he lured Romita back to working at Goodman Company, now known as Marvel Comics. Romita became the regular artist on Daredevil. That, though, would prove to be a short stint, as he was soon moved to Marvel's second biggest title, Amazing Spider-Man, after the departure of Steve Ditko from the series in 1966. Yep. While obviously Steve Ditko created Spider-Man's look, it was Romita's slight redesigns that made Spider-Man the global icon that he remains to this day. Ditko's Peter Parker was a thin, frail fellow. Romita Sr. turned Peter into a heartthrob. Ditko's girls, well, they weren't exactly gorgeous. Romita's girls, well, as we see in one of the most notable moments in Marvel history from Amazing Spider-Man 42, is Mary Jane Watson was a bombshell, and his version of Gwen Stacy would take your breath away.
Right.
Romita's designs that inspired Stan Lee to give the youth of the book center stage. In addition, Romita's Spider-Man went from being the lithe, angular guy that was during Ditko's time to being a full, powerful superhero in the Jack Kirby mold. This take on Spider-Man is one that was marketed to the moon by Marvel in the late 60s and throughout the 70s. Romita Spider-Man was the face of Spider-Man and licensed products until pretty much the last decade or so. The same went for Marvel's other characters, as well as Romita's art became essentially the house style for Marvel from a licensing perspective. If you bought a Marvel beach towel or Marvel pillowcase or what have you, the odds were that Romita did the art for it.
As I recall, it was reproductions of his artwork that was used on the covers of the Mego action figures or the card backs for the Mego action figures, all those little vehicles that they had of Spider-Man and so forth. And he did the art, you know, the like four views of Spider-Man and Spider-Man in different action poses that were used as reference illustrations for other artists. What I also wanted to point out is as the transition went from Ditko to Romita, yes, there were changes. But it felt very organic. It felt like we were moving into a new era of Peter's life, like he was growing up a bit. And there were elements of the art style that I felt he was, I don't want to say homaging Ditko, but it was like he was conscious of keeping a kind of continuity. Sometimes you'd look at it and go, is that Romita or is that Ditko? It was that feeling, even though you knew full well who it was. This is one of his classic covers. You'll see this shared all the time when you're talking about him. This is from, I believe this was from the 60s run, but some of my favorite covers were, and this was great. So the artwork, his artwork that would eventually be on the cover. This was used on what I thought was a brilliant little flyer that you got at the comic book store. You know, you're cordially invited to the wedding of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson. I loved this. This became part of my Spider-Man collection. Was this silly little advertisement that I picked up at the comic book store, which then you know, there was two different versions of the wedding issue. I want to say one was in Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, one was in Amazing Spider-Man, but someone like Clobberin' Times could correct me on this. So on this issue, you've got the Spider-Man, and you've got the heroes and villains behind him. The other classic one is Peter Parker and, you know, family and friends behind him, which, you know, but exactly the same Mary Jane with that fishtail, you know, design, just absolutely classic. And of course, the Spider-Man No More issue that is very lovingly homaged in the Tobey Maguire. I think it was the second movie.
Second one, yeah.
This shot from inside that comic is almost exactly shown cinematically in that film, and of course, you know, from Marvel Saga, the engagement, Face a Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. Yeah, that was classic, and yeah, I had all of those comics. I did give them away to a buddy's. In fact, I mentioned earlier that Netter and I went to a vow renewal for some friends, and my friend Tim was celebrating 40 years with his wife Kim. Their son, at the time that the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie came out, was not allowed to see that movie. I think rightly so. He was a little bit young, and that whole wet T-shirt scene in the alley was probably not too cool for him to be seeing. And he was really bummed about it because he really liked Spider-Man. I said, you know what? I said, I understand why your dad doesn't want you to see that right now. I said, it's worth waiting for when you're a little bit older. In the meantime, and I gave him my entire collection of Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, a lot of special editions and stuff. And all of my Marvel Secret Wars figures.
Was he excited?
He really was. He really loved those. And so today I asked him, I says, does Timmy still have them? He goes, well, actually I have them. I'm like, okay, that's fine, as long as you guys still have those. And he enjoyed them and got the love out of them. Was able to pass them on to another generation because I didn't have anyone to pass them on to. So yeah, the Dan Romita Sr. was a big part of my love of Spider-Man. And I'm glad I was able to pass that on to another generation.
Cool. Yeah, that was nice of you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was.
In fact, I remember at the time, Tim kind of was like, bro, do you want to do that? This is like, you know, hundreds. I said, yeah, probably thousands of dollars worth of comics. You know, just if you take into account value, I mean. But I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to see that money, and you cannot put a price on, you know, the love of comics and passing that on to another generation. So that's why I did that. I'm afraid someday I'll have to do the same with a lot of my other geeky collections here. But yeah, there you go.
Hopefully not too soon.
Well, hopefully not too soon, but you know, eventually maybe.
The transition for Peter made sense from Ditko to Romita Sr. Peter started as a frail teen but blossomed to getting a more muscular frame as he grew older without being more seasoned as a superhero. Interesting. That makes sense, yeah. And
I like the fact that he gets his powers right away and suddenly, but it has a physiological effect on him over time, right? He gets kind of a little bit hard body, a little bit lean, right? I felt like that was too jarring in the Tobey Maguire, that first movie. He literally wakes up the next day and he's all hard body, and it's like, no, no, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
I'm kind of always bugged by the way Marvel's handled Spider-Man. We've never gotten like the adult Peter Parker. We always get him.
We just keep rehashing the high school Spider-Man.
And then he goes into college, and he's never out of college. And I'll say this, at least for that one Sony Spider-Man game, at least before they changed the look of the character, and that they actually had him. It's him. He just graduated college. That's where that takes place in the timeline. So at least he's older.
Yeah.
I wish they would get the older Spider-Man in some of these movies. But
I'm a little afraid of where they're going to go with Spider-Man after this. What's this movie that they just had with Doctor Strange and whatnot?
Oh,
they've completely reset their storyline with him in the style of One More Day.
Kind of.
And I have no idea where they're going to go with this, but we'll see.
His friends don't know who he is, and that was like no one knows him. Like, so the MJ in that, which isn't Mary Jane, it's a different MJ. She doesn't know the Zendaya character. She doesn't know who he is. So I guess they'll be starting out fresh. I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea what they're planning. I know Tom Holland said he wants to take a year off from acting coming up, so maybe after this next movie he's going to take some time off. I don't know.
Maybe it's time to start thinking about recasting. He's getting older.
It wouldn't be a bad idea.
Right?
Yeah, but let's see the transition from Peter. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
First news story of the night. In a rare comics category, which funny enough, we have not been covering comics too much on this channel because
there hasn't been anything worth sharing, really.
But I find these next stories interesting, and I sent Troy another gentleman's video. Thinking Critical did a video on this, but we're going to talk a bit about it ourselves. Per a statement from Z2 Comics, American writer and artist Ian McGinty died on Thursday, June 8th. He was only 38 years old. The cause of death was not given. McGinty worked primarily on children's comic books, animation, and video games, including Plants vs. Zombies, Heroes, Invader Zim, Enter the Florpus, TV Times, Adventure Time, and Rocko's Modern Life, and creator-owned titles like Welcome to Showside and Hello, My Name is Poop. McGinty's unexpected passing prompted much mourning on Twitter, where several creators, including Trung Lee Nguyen, Casey Nowak, Joey Weiser, Jackson Lansing, David Papose, and Kendra Wells described him as a kind, funny, and generous friend and colleague. Wells and Shadia Amin indicated McGinty had health issues stemming from being overworked and underpaid, with the latter saying, I kind of emphasize how much Ian was constantly working, trying to get pitches done. He even briefly worked in animation, and I know he barely slept a whole lot of the time. They both stressed McGinty's death showed publishers need to pay artists better. It was a sentiment echoed by many like Vida Ayala, Elise Schunk, C. Larson, Neela Magruder, and well, there are a bunch of names here. Magruder stated, no publisher is paying enough that an artist can focus on one book at a time. These contracts are part-time gigs at best, yet schedules are so tight you need to make a book your sole full-time focus to make a deadline. Soon after, the hashtag @ComicsBrokeMe began trending, with many writers, artists, colorists, and even editors using it to speak out about low compensation for various publishers. Why don't I go ahead and read the next one too?
I just dropped it. Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Because they kind of go hand.
As a kind of in between here, I do want to point out this one comes from sportskita.com. While Ian's cause of death has not been officially disclosed, reports suggest he died in Los Angeles, in quotes, from an internal battle with depression. I'm sorry, but that does sound like self-deletion, especially for a 38-year-old.
I was thinking self-deletion or substance abuse related.
Could be. Which one could argue is still self-deletion.
But they probably, you could argue you're doing it slowly as opposed to doing it once. But So comics creators have had enough. This is our next article. Comics creators have had enough. A collection of comic and cartoon professionals are sharing personal accounts to expose their industry for its appalling working conditions, which include inhuman tours, meager pay, and rampant job insecurity. The At Comics Broke Me Twitter conversation is seemingly in reaction to the death of artist Ian McGinty, Adventure Time Invaders in. McGinty died on June 8th at the age of 38, and some speculate the difficult reality of working in comics may have been a contributing factor. Now, major players in the comics field are sharing distressing stories about their time in the industry, and some are calling for action. Multiple artists have accused DC and Marvel of paying terrible rates, which is rich considering the company's IPs take home billions at the box office. When I started comics in 1987, DC was paying me $40 a page for a 24-page comic. The Sandman Neil Gaiman tweeted, that's worth somewhere between 120 and 160 now, and by issue 8, Sandman was making the same again each month in royalties. Kurt Busiek replied that he got $50 a page for Marvels. Gaiman lamented the current state of the industry standard compensation. How anyone survives on the current page rates leaves me chilled. Meanwhile, artist Kwanzaa Yefo claimed DC used dishonest practices to draw creators, while DC had me lying to some creators to get them working for less than their average page rate. I sound vouchers to high-profile writers for $10,000 per issue, he alleged. A creator at Marvel accused her employer of astounding pay gaps. As an assistant editor, I would sign vouchers for talent who made more in a single issue than Marvel would pay me a year. Heather Antos claimed Daredevil's Peter Krause at his page grade between two Marvel projects went down, even though the previous one was nominated for an Eisner Award. Ahoy Comics pays better than Marvel, Krause tweeted. Even acclaimed comics creators struggle in the current system. Comic David Lansky said his 200-page award-winning historical graphic novel published by Harry and Abrams earned him a paltry $19,000 over the 3.5 years to produce. A sum split between him and his co-writer, Frank M. Young. Why have I not created a follow-up book? Well, after finishing our book, my co-author and I were broke, Lansky wrote. I went back to work for a bakery. My co-author was homeless for a while. Our GN did not get millions royalties. Chris Finoglio, who worked on franchises like X-Men, concurred regarding the question of royalties. Licensed comics don't pay royalties like ever, he tweeted. I did a book for Scholastic and got offered a second book and turned it down because they couldn't get me even a marginal amount of royalty pay. Those who do receive royalties find the payments are very little. Justin Gambioli earned between $1,703 in royalties in 2001, according to his tweet. Let me see. And it goes on. I remember staying up between 37 hours straight to finish a 22-page book, tweeted Chris Kindred, a Brooklyn-based illustrator whose clients include The New Yorker, The Atlantic, and Washington Post. He was recounting a time in 2015 when he got a coloring gig and Boom Studios, a company known for Keanu Reeves' Berserker, okay, and established licenses of doing it. Okay, I was having heart failure, and when I was dehydrated, I was falling asleep over my school's Cintiq. I hated the work I turned in. When I woke up and saw I was cut loose, something in me broke. All right. These stories go on for a while. I don't feel like reading all
of them. Yeah, and I think we get the point. We got a bunch of people that are working very hard, I'll admit, but they're bitching and moaning about their pay. And I think Auditor Dredd sums it up really, really well. That these people in this industry are so upset about, not getting a living wage and all this kind of stuff. And the reality is their comics are not selling. I'm sorry, but nobody cares about the comics you people are putting out. If they don't sell, there is no money to give you, and you go hungry. And these big companies, yes, DC and Marvel are making tons of money, but not on their work. No. They're making money off of the IPs. People like John Romita Sr. made, great. They're literally...
People bought the comics when he was doing it.
Exactly, and that's why these movies are being made, and that's why these toys are being sold. Not because of anything these people did. Auditor Dredd refers to them as the SJWs. That's exactly right. They're these socialist minded people who think that I just deserve to be given a living wage for doing, drawings. Okay? And I realize I am minimizing what they are doing, but I am doing so because of the results of their work, not how much effort they put into it, not how hard they try, how many hours, how much they struggle. I am talking about return on investment, And here's bottom line, okay? And I say this to anyone who says, I deserve a living wage. If you are in a job that is not paying you enough to live on, leave that job. Go find yourself a job that pays you more. I'm sorry, you've got to make the trade-off. If you want to have a job that pays you for drawing pictures, this is what they're paying. If you don't like it and you need more money and you need better medical coverage or whatever, go dig ditches. Go be a garbage man. Go do the dirty jobs that pay and have great benefits but aren't always a lot of fun.
The target audience for these SJ comics are for themselves. They don't try attracting large audience. They are going for a niche audience that is already in a niche industry. Unfortunately, comic books, I think, have become a niche industry. We're going to get to talk about somebody else who's trying.
Well, and this is probably the perfect place to pivot on this, right? Because the other thing is, if you want to be an artist and you want to make the money and you're not making the money working for the institutional comics, working for DC and Marvel, and you don't like it, like I said, leave and go do it for yourself. Like Eric July is doing.
Yeah.
He's on the second issue of Isom, and again, within 2 days, he's already gotten over $1 million in sales. I think he's close to 2 million now. I haven't checked recently.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and read. I'm just going to read snippets from this article. Last year, Eric July made history with the launch of his comic Isom #1, which not only made over 3.7 million in sales, with more pre-orders than most Marvel and DC comics. But the campaign also drew media attention from the likes of Glenn Beck and Fox News. July's detractors and fans have both been wondering whether the second installment in the new superhero universe, dubbed the Rippaverse, would be as successful. After the first 48 hours, which raised nearly 1 million, we have an answer. Rippaverse fans are here to stay. Maybe even more astounding is that Isom #2's campaign has been plagued by an unresponsive website that has been down at times, which July's team said they are working dutifully on trying to fix.
And it was literally because they were just swamped with traffic. I'll be honest with you, that first day, I had to keep refreshing. I even had to a couple times reset my password to get back in. And then I got my my whatever you call it, pre-order or whatever in, and the following day I start getting all these emails, about resetting my password, receipt, and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, but I'm not going to be upset at Eric July. He's just a victim of his own success, and that's a good thing to be. Yes. I just wanted to make sure I got in and got that first variant cover that I wanted. So
gotcha.
I did.
No, I understand. Yeah. It says it appears as if there was too much traffic on the website. Yeah, like you were saying.
Exactly.
The campaign also features high-quality animated trailer featuring July voicing his Isom character in a fight scene, which fans are speculating may lead to future animated film work based on the Rippaverse property.
That does look like it's a distinct possibility, and everyone is excited about it.
Yeah.
But everybody is so racist. I don't understand how this could be so popular.
Yeah, well, even in the past, you've had. Yeah, I don't feel like getting. Anyway, creating.
Yeah.
This is the same types that are now complaining they're not getting any money because you're not. I'm going to talk about the other thing in a minute too. I just want to go on to say that creating more buzz is the light of comic readers news that iconic Green Lantern artist Ethan Van Sciver and DC Comics editor St. Davis have joined forces to produce covers for Isom #2. So yeah, they're creating covers for them as well. So
Auditor Dread said, I want to get the Isom when it becomes a full trade. Actually, you got to think of it as each of these issues kind of is a full trade. the first issue, and it looks like they're going to be coming out on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
And what you get in one issue is about what you would get in 12 issues of a regular comic.
I take it these are like thick.
They really are. They really are. In fact, he ended up being able to add pages to the issue 1 specifically because it did so well.
Yeah, and I've had some of the. I mean, I'm not saying this is specifically a Comicsgate thing, but I'm saying some of those were felt more like trades than just something like a little like a little thing you'd get off a newsstand. But yeah, and more power to Eric July on congratulations on his success here. Obviously, there's still an audience for American comic books.
Yeah,
and you can make money off of them. I don't know what is going on over DC Marvel. I'm assuming it's a management problem.
Honestly, it's the same kind of problem in a slightly different flavor that you're seeing with Disney and all the other entertainment industry. You got a bunch of goofball socialists that are, literally cultural vandals destroying other people's IPs. And, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
Oh.
And then 2 years later, she comes out and says, we're really worried about what's happening in the industry. And it's like, yeah, well, we took your advice. We didn't buy your book, and we're not going to.
Yeah. I remember you did a video on that, a short video. Remember that?
Yeah, I'll probably have to share that out again. It's got a lot of views, and it's been shared around a lot.
Update it with the whining going on right now. I want to say something else too. I kept figuring, how are these people living? I kept thinking these were like trust fund kids, that this was like their side job while they figure out a way to break into a bigger industry. No, it turns out a lot of them weren't making any money, period, and they were struggling.
Yeah, and like I said, bitching and moaning and complaining that they weren't making any money, but that's fine. It's probably not a good idea to tell people not to buy your book if you're struggling.
Yeah, you know who else was struggling? The comic book store owners were struggling during because they can't sell you the crappy comic books you're making.
But at least they're able to get by doing games and selling toys and so I mean the ones that have survived, that's what I'll tell you what though, they live on the margins, so a lot of them went out of business during COVID. Which reminds me, Netter, we need to get back to Keith's Comics to pick up my my pulls. We haven't been there in a couple months.
So now that this is turning into this big stink up on Twitter, do you think that the comic book companies think Marvel and DC are going to start coughing up a living wage for these artists?
I don't see how. Again, they're not making the money. These books aren't selling. What is there to give them? But if they want, they can go on strike just like the writers and actors if they want.
I want to bring up a point that I think there was a Spider-Man comic recently, a Peter Parker one, where he runs into Mary Jane and it's like, I don't know if he was away or something, and he tries kissing her and says, Pete, it's been too long, and she's married with kids.
Yes. Yes.
You want to know how to piss off your Spider-Man Peter Parker?
Well, like they didn't learn from One More Day, and the Clone Saga and stuff. It's like,
The audience wants Peter Parker and Mary Jane together. That's what the audience wants. And you keep screwing this up time and time again. And don't even get me started on what they did with the Punisher for that final.
Oh, yeah. Let's not even.
So, sorry, but not sorry.
Definitely.
You remember what happened with Walt Disney when he got screwed out of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
What did he do? He created Mickey Mouse.
Exactly. It's time to start making your own stuff. Like, I don't know, like Isom. Yeah.
That's what Todd McFarlane did with Spawn. He left it because I guess he did like how he was retreated. He started his own comic company.
Yes, he did. Yep. And then don't tell me that the American dream is dead, that it doesn't exist, that it's a fallacy. It exists. You just got to be willing to do it. You got to be willing to strike out on your own. If you're going to keep working for someone else and bitching and moaning about your pay, well, You know, you're never gonna get ahead. Look, you know, even the greats, even Ditko, even John Romita, even George Perez, they never got fame. Well, they got famous. They never got rich.
I think Stan Lee did pretty good at the end, but Ditko was in a YMCA at some point.
Yeah.
Co-creator of Spider-Man. And
I mean, and I'm not even going to get into the hows and the whys, and don't even get me started on Stan Lee. But you know, it's a cutthroat industry, and these people have always worked on margins. The fans love them. The fans would go and get their autographs, and you know, pay for them to do you know, drawings for them and stuff. And that's why they went to these conventions, because they, you know, they needed to supplement their income.
Yeah, the fans love them. They love the older artists. Do they love these new artists? Are they screaming for them? No, they're getting
no, absolutely not.
Peter Parker with
no, they're bitching about the fact that they can't draw feet. You know, I mean, because you know they're dumb kids that you know haven't put the effort into learning to do stuff. You know.
I remember when I got those Tomb Raider reprint comics from the 90s, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to read them before they got destroyed, but I remember reading about the making of them. The lead artist on that actually went back to art school to study the human body, how to draw it, before he even started work on the comic book series.
Did you see Michael's video about the magazine dedicated to Lara Croft?
That's a different story. Yeah,
that's a different story, but still, check it out. It's worth it.
I don't think I don't know if there's an intellectual property that's been mishandled. Well, actually,
a lot of intellectual properties have been mishandled that badly.
Lara Croft was one of the first that was getting mishandled as badly as anything else.
Maybe, but. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so just a slight pivot out of comics into the live action world. I guess we're hearing that Blue Beetle will be the first character in the new DC universe. James Gunn confirms this.
Let me read. I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm going to read one little paragraph from this first one.
Sure.
I mean, the first DCU character for sure is Blue Beetle. Here we go. The DC universe is getting some Latin flavor, and DC Studios chief James Gunn has confirmed that Blue Beetle is the DC universe's first character. They have to say Latin flavor.
I know that is super cringe. That is super cringe.
I mean, the first DCU character for sure is Blue Beetle, and the first full DC universe movie is Superman. Gunn said on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast released Tuesday. This statement makes no sense to me. Let's go to the next one. It's covering the same thing. I'm going to read from that one too.
Yeah. There we go.
I'm supposed to have faith that they know what they're doing this time. Okay, James Gunn confirms. Okay, DC boss James Gunn has confirmed that the Blue Beetle is the first DC character in the new DC universe. Blue Beetle, which hit cinema in August, stars Cobra Kai's Zolo Mariduena. I said that wrong.
Close enough. Cholo Mariduena.
Cholo. Okay, as the titular character. Speaking on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, Gunn revealed the first DC character for sure is Blue Beetle, and the first full DC universe movie is Superman. This statement makes no sense to me.
Okay, so and this was a guess.
Blue
I don't
Beetle
know.
Is coming out before this Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
So if it's included in this, it is the first new DC universe.
But we also know that based on the filming schedule and so forth, we know that this film was written, planned, and done before they brought Gunn on. So this is why I think he specifically said that he is the first character in the new DC universe or whatever. I think there is nothing in this film that directly tied it to the Snyderverse. So I don't think they're thinking about the canon and continuity of this mattering. So they're going to go, you know what? Yeah, so he doesn't necessarily have to be situated in the Snyderverse. And we like this character and we like Cholo, so we're going to, keep him going forward. But I don't think that James Gunn is taking too much of the story as his own.
See, this is what's confusing here. They're all over the place with Blue Beetle. First, I thought they were saying it was part of the Snyderverse, and they're saying, oh, it's a standalone film, not related. Now they're saying, oh, it is in fact part of this new DCU, which makes me think that they're taking their old approach.
That's not exactly what they said, though. What they said was the character is the first character in the new universe. I don't think they are thinking of the canon and story of the film necessarily as the first film in the James Gunn thing. It is kind of standalone. It's taking place kind of between universes, and the character will probably continue forward.
So
yes,
this character and actor will be in future DC Universe movies. Which, to be fair, I've never had a problem with them using the same actors in different things. Like I often said it, when they lost Edward Norton, they could have gone back to get Eric Bana to be, Bruce Banner.
Yeah, that could have been cool. But yeah,
even though
I'm kind of feeling like he might have been getting a little old for the role, but they could have gotten around that. They were working with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, they were working with Robert Downey Jr. and I think that would have been okay.
But I see what you're saying, yeah. And they're gonna treat this just like they do with Spider-Man. It's like, okay, you saw that movie, and it's kind of sort of his origin, and if we kind of fudge some of the canon from that film, oh well, we might retcon some things, but you know who this character is. We're moving on now.
I like deleted scenes, oy vey, yeah. Nothing against the actor playing him. Good.
No, he's awesome.
Yeah, and I often thought wouldn't it be funny if they got the guy that plays Bobby Cobra Kai and had him play Booster Gold.
Oh man, that would be a good casting, actually.
The pairing of the two of them again. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be nice. Yeah. Well, of course, this is a different Blue Beetle. This isn't the Ted Kord Blue Beetle. This is the Jaime Reyes. But yes, I see what you're saying.
I wonder if they can just cut George Lopez's lines. I don't know. Apparently, the director was saying some bad stuff on Twitter too, which he deleted, about doing stuff to certain presidents. Is that what you told me a while back? I may have done. I probably put all that out of my mind. I don't really remember. That's fine. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But yeah, the whole Batman's a fascist line. Come on. Yeah. It's like. We can say that it'll be the first DC movie that wasn't canceled before it premieres in theaters. Yeah. I mean, everything I've heard about it is, it's meh. It's a movie. Nobody's upset about it or angry about it or anything, as far as I know. I argue that Shazam, the way it was structured, maybe it could have been a standalone thing or a start of a new DC universe. It should have been. But there was a lot of horrible missteps with that too, especially when you get into Black Adam too. This was another example of letting the star have too much say over something. That was not a good movie. I know there are people out there that like Black Adam. I saw it. It's just not good. Black Adam is a Captain Marvel villain, not a Superman villain. I don't care what your agent says. I don't care how badly you want to work with, what's his name? Henry Cavill. I don't care. If you so badly want to play Black Adam, you've got to play Black Adam, not General Zod, okay? Well, that's okay, because now General Zod can be a Flash villain. Okay, I'll go ahead and drop the next article then, because I think that's the perfect lead-in. Flash director Andy Muschietti, something like that, tackling new Batman movie, The Brave and the Bold. Okay. Oh, wonderful. It's official. Andy Muschietti is going to the Batcave ahead of the release of the super movie The Flash. Muschietti has decided to keep his feet firmly in the land of DC. Muschietti finalized the deal to direct The Brave and the Bold, the feature project that will introduce a new big screen version of Batman, one that will fit into the expansive universe being developed by DC Studios heads James Gunn and Peter Safran. Hold on, I lost my place. Have you seen The Flash? I have not. I really don't have any intention of doing so. I may get a hold of a copy at some point in time and make a fan edit where it's just the Batman movie, Okay, hold on. Sorry, I lost my spot here. Let me get back up. My thing zoomed down to the bottom. Okay, but yeah, basically, the involvement has been whispered about for the past several weeks. Eddie, who's been on the Flash press tour, has been coy about his connection, but a deal was finally closed this week, according to a source very conveniently timed with the opening of this movie. I have to tell you, whoever maneuvered that was smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie is not doing so hot, but
we'll get into that in the next article, but yes, absolutely. So, but that's exactly why I have absolutely no excitement about Brave and Bold and this guy's involvement in it, because, oh my gosh. Unless, maybe this guy, maybe he's good. Maybe he's really, really good, and he got saddled with this POS, monstrosity of a Frankenstein film, and it's not his fault, but he had to take it in order to get Brave and the Bold. Maybe.
Well, let's see the Flash, but sounds like a Batman film with some Ezra Miller on the side. Yeah, let me get into that. Hold on, I lost my spot again. I don't know why this keeps slipping down to the bottom. Give me a second. I don't know if deleted scenes you were talking about this movie earlier or not. About the Flash, but I don't know. Hold on. Okay, we are okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but here we go. Box office. The Ezra Miller's The Flash faces trouble. Pixar's Elemental gets ice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize. Yeah, but I didn't realize you were moving on. Otherwise, I would have pasted it.
No, we can't. I don't know if there's any much more to say about this Brave and the Bold thing. I'm not hyped for this new Marvel DCU. At this point, they really need to sell me. I feel like it's not incumbent upon me, the guy who's going to spend the money on the theater ticket, to sell myself. They need to sell me.
It never was. It never was. The whole point of marketing is supposed to be build the hype, show the trailers that get people excited about it, make sure that when the stars go out to talk about it, they wow the fans, they don't piss them off, they don't call them a-holes, they don't, stuff like that.
They don't choke women and get caught on camera doing it.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and get into that.
Such was the refrain across Hollywood as opening weekend estimates circulated for DC's highly anticipated The Flash and Pixar's Elemental, which are debuting domestically over the long Juneteenth holiday weekend, only if you're a federal worker.
Yeah.
Let's not get into that. Okay, it's also Father's Day on Sunday. Okay. Starring Ezra Miller in the titular role, Warner Brothers and DC's The Flash is anything but flashy in an opening opinion of moviegoers. The film earned an estimated $51.1 million in 3 days and projected $64 million for the 4 days, notably behind expectations. So unless something's changed since I suppose this article yesterday, it's not been tracking well. The Flash had hoped for a 3-day start to at least $70 million, so as to come in ahead of such disappointing DC titles as Black Adam, which collected $67 million in its first 3 days. Weren't they spinning Black Adam as a success when it came out, or a hit?
Well, it was Dwayne Johnson who was trying to do that. As you would expect, you want your film to do as well as possible, and so maybe gilding the lily and convincing people it's better than they think it is will prime a pump. But that's actually kind of bad because, $67 million for Black Adam. And I don't think Black Adam had as big a budget as The Flash did.
No. Overseas, the superhero tentpole also faced challenges. It opened to $72 million in 79 markets, including a dismal $13.8 million in China for a global opening of $130 million throughout Sunday. The studio's leadership has been hyping The Flash for months. Yes, they have. With Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav claiming it as the greatest superhero movie he's ever seen. Many critics don't agree with that assessment. The pick currently has a 67% on.
Again, I want to point out, if you're David Zaslav, what are you going to say? I mean, you have really no choice. You gotta spin it the best you can.
I remember the theory. We've been talking about The Flash for years now, about when this movie would finally come out.
Yep.
I think I argued they got to release it with Ezra and say, okay, he's getting cured and whatnot, and try to make this crash landing as soft as possible.
Yep. And I think eventually they got to the point where they're like, look, just edit this, get it the F out there, and let's make whatever cut our losses as much as possible. They knew it was going to be a loss. And I'm hearing some bad things about the CG. I think that's because they're unfinished. They were like, you know what, just slap it together and get it out there.
It could be unfinished. It could be that the people doing the CG I heard another rumor that the people were working to it up to the last minute because they kept changing the movie.
Yeah.
Well, because I will say this, with those Marvel movies, what they would typically do with a lot of the CG scenes, they would typically let the people know in advance.
Yeah.
This is what I had heard, at least, so that you would have those scenes being constructed before the rest of the movie was done.
Well, what Tom Connors over at Midnight's Edge was saying about specifically the Batman action scenes, there was a lot of scenes where it was clearly a CG Batman, and he looked gummy and rubbery. And the only reason that happens is because this is my speculation. So it's based on nothing, just what I know about CG animation. When it's good, it's because it's the equivalent of rotoscoping. You've got someone like Andy Serkis with little dots all over him making the motions, and then you match those so that you have a natural fluid motion. But if you create a scene out of whole cloth and just give it to the animator and say, make this happen, it effectively becomes animation, and they have to make it up whole cloth. And I think that's how you end up with what looks like a bad video game.
Yeah. Box office pundits are divided as to whether Miller's off-screen woes are impacting the film's performance. I'm sure they are. Miller was arrested multiple times in 2022. Here's the problem with Miller. He's not a star. He's not. And he's carrying this movie.
Honestly, his OnlyFans, and I don't mean OnlyFans, I mean the only people that are his fans are people that are playing the identity politics. He represents a certain segment, and they must support him. Those are the only people that give a flying F about him.
Yeah. It says here, DC was counting heavily on The Flash to improve its standing after the tepid showing of Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Black Adam. So,
I don't buy that for a second. They were hoping, they need it, but they knew full well it wasn't going to happen.
So they were selling this movie on having Michael Keaton come back as Batman.
Yep.
And I think we're going to be hearing a similar story when it comes to the new Indiana Jones coming out. I was making a point. I decided on summer of '89 at the beginning of the stream because I was trying to make a point that, Michael Keaton as Batman was a big deal. And, Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones was still in his stride. But that was then. Times change. You ask the average millennial who their Batman is. They're probably going to say Christian Bale. A Zoomer might say Pattinson. They're not going to be saying Michael Keaton.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. When you consider 89, that's more than 30 years ago. That most of their audience never even saw that Batman in the theaters. And they may have caught Batman and Robin and have bad memories about it.
Yeah, I remember. I have bad memories of that too. Does George Clooney show up in this one by any chance?
I heard he does.
Oh no.
For reasons that make absolutely no sense. Real quick, want to say hi to Connie Cleary. Welcome. Yeah, we're on a roll tonight, Connie. So make sure you back up and listen to the beginning of the show because it's an interesting ride tonight.
But what I was trying to say is that, okay, so you have Ezra Miller, who's the real lead of the movie, right? And Batman's kind of tagged.
Yeah, he plays a triple role actually. He's not just the star. He has 3 different roles in this movie. It's like an Eddie Murphy movie.
Yeah, but Eddie Murphy's a movie star.
Yeah, and talented and funny and played his characters very. So everything that I've heard though is that Ezra Miller actually has great chemistry with himself.
I'm not thinking of that scene at the end of Austin Powers 2, but I digress.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Oh, that's brilliant. First, that'll be a good old day someday, Austin Powers. But anyway, getting back to this movie, I'm sorry, Ezra Miller, he's not a leading man. He's not a movie star. He never grow.
No, he's not even a man. He's a they.
Yes, he's they, that. What else is going on? And the same is going to go for Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who I hear is like the main character in the new Indiana Jones movie.
Everybody is saying that she is just the worst thing about that movie.
Yeah. So you're having your leading character. The older audience is not going to be enough to go out and see these movies and make them hits. The younger audience doesn't like the new young leads you're giving them. That's the problem here.
That's exactly right. And they don't have the nostalgia to draw them out there in the first place.
It takes nostalgia.
But
to go back to Bond, I got introduced to Bond with Pierce Brosnan, and that got me to go to watch the older Bond movies. But it wasn't them dragging out,
we're gonna
enjoy this movie.
And I was saying on Friday, we got to do a Bond retrospective, get Michael back. You and I think, come at Bond from very different ways. You start with Pierce Brosnan. I kind of start at the beginning, although obviously I didn't see them when they were first released. I'm not that old, but in replays and TV movies and stuff, I had seen all these Bonds way out of order. But I saw all of those before we got to Pierce Brosnan and Timothy Dalton.
If you were a child of the 70s, the Bond movies at that point weren't that old. And, of course, Roger Moore, I guess, was your first Bond, right? He was the Bond of your
era. I think he was the first one I saw again at a drive-in.
Right.
But the first one that I went to without, like, my parents taking me or something, that I went to with friends, was ironically not truly a James Bond film. It was Never Say Never Again.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. Connery did come back for that.
Yep.
Well, doesn't Flash erase metas? So then Ben Affleck then changed, and now Michael Keaton. Here's another question I have. Aquaman and not the Cursed Kingdom, the Lost Kingdom is coming out.
It's going to be cursed. Don't you be fooled. Yeah.
I take it that this Flash movie, is it going to be like, now we're reset into the new DCU, wink, wink, which is not going to work because there's no way they're bringing Ezra Miller back.
I don't think they put enough thought and effort into it in that regard. The best you can hope for is they establish a multiverse and just forget about this one now. We're going and looking at a different one now. But yeah, no, from what I hear, there's a end credit scene and there's some other stuff, but it doesn't set anything up. It's just obligatory and meaningless.
I'm done. And I keep calling these movies Snyderverse, but Snyder's not been involved in this stuff for a while. So
no, but you gotta label this universe in such a way that
continuity. You're correct. Yes,
right.
The way Superman 4 was in the Superman 1 continuity, even though obviously Richard, the people making Superman 4 had nothing to do with what Donner had envisioned for Superman. But yeah, it's in that same continuity. It's just that this is where we are actually. We're in the Superman. This is the Superman 4 of this DC universe.
And Dee Dee Myers is here. Hello, and he's saying hello. My first Bond was Roger Moore, then Timothy Dalton when the older ones. Gotcha. And Potawatomi, welcome. Does the Fleabag got thrown it? Yeah, right. You're right. You're not wrong there. You're absolutely right about that.
We'll be doing more Indiana Jones as the weeks
as it comes up. Yeah.
I'm talking too much about that movie because I figure we're gonna have plenty to say when that comes out. Also, Pixar's latest did not do so hot too.
Shocker! Just shocking.
Ditto for Pixar, which has Elemental opening this weekend, but the family film quickly fell flat at the box office. The latest blow for the storied animation studio. Many pundits worry that the original animated IP is no longer a theatrical proposition, although the former regime at Disney sent several Pixar movies straight to streaming during the pandemic, possibly changing consumer habits. I want to see how that Duck movie from Illumination is going to do in the fall. I want to see if it's going to beat out Elemental. You keep saying this. You keep excusing it. Is it an original animated movie problem, or is it just Pixar? Is it?
Yeah. I think
it was not an original property that was tied to Toy Story. Still did poorly.
Yeah. I think that, and this is the other thing too. Elemental, original. I don't see it that way. I see it as derivative of all the ones they went before. Right. We had inside. What was it? In and Out, Inside Out, whatever it was.
I did not like that one.
It's all the ones that they've been doing lately, it's the same basic idea. Instead of elements, it was emotions, it was whatever, and they just keep rehashing the same story over and over again, just rearranging the cookies on the plate. And we didn't like them in the first place, and they've gotten progressively worse. And by progressive, I mean regressive. There's a lot of material in here that parents don't want to deal with their children.
I think there's a non-binary character in Elemental. I think somebody told me that. No, I can't confirm that though.
Yep, that's what I heard too. And parents are effing tired of it. Look, if you want, you keep telling me that Disney is too big to fail. Please keep saying it, because they are doing everything they possibly can to Bud Light themselves.
The hope is now that Elemental will parlay its A cinema scoring into long legs at the box office. Okay, sure it is.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Directed by Peter Sohn, The Good Dinosaur Elemental is set in Element City, where fire, water, land, and air residents live together. The film's themes include connections, celebrating differences, and finding one's place in the world. Do you know what The Good Dinosaur was?
No, not at all.
Pixar's first bomb.
Okay.
Why did they get the same director and give him another big budgeted Pixar movie to do?
Yeah, brilliant. I'll tell you this too. I don't think it's just the material. I mean, it can be. At least partially it's because non-binary character and blah, 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 and this and that, and rehash, and not very good and not very entertaining. It's the fact that parents don't want to take their kids to Disney films anymore. Disney has lost their reputation. Even if the movie had been good, I don't think parents would be taking their kids to see it now. And it sure as hell wasn't.
The big test is going to be this that mermaid movie that's coming out, where the mermaid's the villain. You know, the DreamWorks movie from the Shrek people.
I may just go see that just
just to spite.
Yeah. Well, and I've kind of enjoyed everything DreamWorks has done, so I probably would like it. You know.
Yeah, like I said, I did enjoy that last.
Let's be honest. It would be nice to be able to take my wife to the cinema again. There hasn't been much to go see.
Yeah, there's Oppenheimer, looks good. So does the new Mission Impossible. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. Oh, actually, they did make a point about Wes Anderson's Asteroid City. Made headlines at the specialty box office in the U.S., where it launched in 6 theaters in New York and Los Angeles before expanding nationwide next week. And the Focus Features project posted a 3-day per theater location average of $132,211.
Here's another element to it, though. Am I going to go see Asteroid City in the cinema? Probably not. I'll wait for it to come out on another media, and that's the other problem. They're shooting themselves in the foot with having a 30-day window and then putting it out on stream. Unless it's must-see right now, absolute, people aren't going to the cinema to see it.
Well, apparently there's a nude scene with Scarlett Johansson in it, so...
Okay, I'll see it opening night. No, there's plenty of nude her in other movies. I don't need Asteroid City. I'm sure I could look her up on the internet too.
I am going to say this. I've always liked Wes Anderson movies. I know he is a divisive director. You either love him or hate him, but I've always enjoyed his movies, so there's that. But I still have to watch The French Dispatch. That was the last thing he did.
Yeah. You know who else is a good director? Well, sometimes. James Cameron.
Let's get into it.
There we go. Avatar 5 lands 2031 release. No joke. Take it away.
Better pre-order your tickets now.
Oh,
Avatar 5 lands 2031 release.
And let me just say, Alita 2 hasn't even been slated yet. Just saying.
Disney's not going to get green.
Screw Disney.
You want Disney producing an Alita 2.
Not
you want
really.
20th Century Fox properties sold to another studio, and then they can make Alita 2.
Yeah, true.
I don't want Disney making. I'd rather not get an Alita 2 if Disney's in charge now. I've lost complete faith. I kept thinking. I know this. I'm not saying I was being naive, but I was thinking maybe they would leave the Fox stuff alone and just let Cameron.
Well, I was going to say, in fairness, if Alita did get made, it would probably be done the same way that Avatar is, where James Cameron's in charge. Disney doesn't really get a say in it. It's just stay out of it, take your money, and shut up.
We'll see what happens. Leave it to James Cameron to create new rules. That's the perk of directing 3 of the 4 biggest movies of all time, worldwide box office.
True.
2009's Avatar, 2022's Avatar, The Way of Water, 1997's Titanic. On Tuesday, Disney revealed that Cameron and his team need more time to make the next 3 installments in the blockbuster franchise. The news wasn't exactly a surprise, considering that release dates for the various Avatar picks have already shifted numerous times. Most immediately, Avatar 3 is being pushed back by a year from December 20th, 2024 to December 19th, 2025. While that movie was normal enough, many in Hollywood distribution circles couldn't believe it when Disney revealed that the 4th Avatar, which had been set up to debut in theaters on December 18th, 2026, will instead go out December 21st, 2029, while Avatar 5, previously set for release on December 22nd, 2020, is now scheduled for December 31st, 2031. The jokes start flying, considering the films are rarely dated beyond 3 or 4 years out, much less 8+ years in the case of Avatar 5. I started sending people emails asking what they were doing in 2031, says one veteran's distribution executive. I told them, mark your calendars, as another distributor. I didn't even know what to say. Humor aside, building a release calendar is serious business in the arms race to grab up the most desirable dates for franchise installments and other event fare. In addition to no movies, it's become commonplace for a studio to date an untitled project before someone else claims the coveted weekend or holiday. If planning ahead is a sign of confidence in movie theaters, then studios have clearly gone all in on planting their flags in the sand of their highest profile, and in some cases still untitled big screen releases, says box office analyst Peter Durgar.
Your guess is as good as mine on this one, sorry.
Of ComScore.
Durgar Abedian?
Yeah, there you go. Which is the official recorder of additions to the calendar as well as any changes. The Avatar lineup was one of the many high-profile moves Disney made to its calendar as the studio upped those stakes in terms of how and when it dates future movies. Disney and Lucasfilm have not had a Star Wars feature in theaters since 2019, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. At April Star Wars Celebration, Lucasfilm announced a feature to star Daisy Ridley, another from The Mandalorian's David Filoni, and one from James Mangold that will take place thousands of years earlier in the timeline. On Tuesday, I'm sure the first Jedi will be a woman.
Yeah, right.
So, on Tuesday, the Force is female. Actually, no, that's when they'll find out the Force is female, right?
Right. Exactly.
Some entity that it's the Force embodied, and they'll be okay. On Tuesday, Lucasfilm moved a previous dated Star Wars movie from the December 2025 to May 22nd, 2026. The Ridley feature is the furthest along in development and is likely to open on that date. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the Daisy Ridley movie is coming first.
We'll see. Look, here's the thing about all these, and I'll be interested to see what Midnight's Edge and Valiant Renegade, WDW Pro have to say about this when they get around to it. But it's been my experience that when they start talking about future films, all they're really trying to do is they're trying to gin up the excitement over something. There's financial things going on behind the scenes where they're trying to get people investing. They're trying to get lines of credit. They're trying to say, look how valuable we are. We've got all these things planned, and the fans are all excited about it, and everyone's talking about it. And look, there's a Hollywood Reporter article talking about it, and blah, 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 blah. Well, folks, JJ Star Trek. How many times have they been talking about Star Trek 4? It's definitely happening next year.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen 3 years from now. It's definitely going to happen now, and then it just goes away. We're still waiting for that Rian Johnson trilogy that they keep talking about, right?
As soon as he's done with Knives Out, he'll get on.
Right. Well, now he just did Knives Out too. Now he's going to pull out the forks and the spoons, and then eventually he'll get around to the Star Wars trilogy, right? Look, when they go this far out, anything can happen. Okay, look, you start talking 10 years out or something like that. Look, I'm sorry, I don't want to jinx anybody or put out any bad juju, but, you're not promised another day on this earth. So who knows what could happen between now and then?
Avengers: The Kang Dynasty has been pushed a year to May 1st, 2026.
Does anyone believe that's actually going to happen? Does anyone actually believe that's going to happen? And if it does, it's not going to be with the same actor.
What Avengers are left?
Oh, the bestest ever, the cheese girl, Brie Larson. She's going to save this whole universe because she is the future of the Avengers. The next movie is going to be the Marvels. You know that's going to be a runaway hit.
Shang-Chi, will he be on the team with her?
Oh, probably. Yeah, and all of the Eternals, too.
And the Eternals, they'll be the new Avengers who... Yeah.
Seriously, guys, Disney has not had a movie that broke even, let alone made a profit this year. Does anyone believe that the Dial of Destruction or the Marvels is going to change that streak? I don't think so.
Anyway.
Good luck, folks.
Disney thinks it can, well, what is it? Well, there's that Robert Rodriguez movie that's being locked away in a vault for a century before anyone sees it. It'd be funny if they released that movie during the writer's strike because they have nothing to release in theaters, so they'll break out this movie that's supposed to be shown in 100 years.
Yeah, could be.
I don't think I talked about this on that stream. Yeah, they made a movie that no one's going to be able to see for 100 years. That was the whole thing.
And after 100 years, no one's going to care.
Probably. Go to the next thing.
Let's get to gaming. You know,
this is weird.
Something tells me this is going to be a little bit better news, in my opinion.
This is interesting. Ghostbusters Special Edition gets slime spattered physical cartridge release for Sega Genesis.
Yeah,
I've told you about this game before. The original Ghostbusters
right.
For the Sega Genesis.
Yep.
Earlier.
Is this the one that my understanding is they added Winston into it?
They've added Winston into this new version of it. Yeah. Earlier this month, Sega's 1990 Ghostbusters video game received a long overdue fan update, which not only included the character additions of Winston Zeddemore and Louis Tully, but also SRAM saving, and for various new customization options, modes, and cheats. While available to play now through emulation, click here for in-depth how-to. For fans hoping to grab a physical copy, you're in luck. Toy Source Games has cooked up a retro release that will not only work on original Sega hardware, but comes encased inside updated packaging that includes a revamped instruction manual and glow-in-the-dark slime green cartridge.
That's kind of cool. As
a parent,
a lot of the younger folks might not realize this, but back in like the 70s and 80s, things that had glow-in-the-dark on it was just really cool.
I like glow-in-the-dark.
Yeah.
You can still get stuff glow-in-the-dark today, but it's not as prevalent.
It's just not as exciting, yeah.
As apparent from our previous reports and a display in the back of the box, the headlining edition of Ghostbusters Special is that of Winston Zeddemore, a rather crude oversight of the game's original release. The Bum and Louis toy also joins the team, becoming a fully playable character in addition to selecting uniform colors and difficulty settings that include the new Nightmare mode and Vigo the Carpathian.
Huh.
Alternatively, for those looking to make the game a bit easier, a handful of cheats have been added, including our personal favorite, given the ability to dish out double damage to those pesky apparitions. This is a fan-made game.
Yeah, and my understanding was that and I find this very interesting. So you had your 3 Ghostbusters in the original, and depending on which one you chose, each one had their specialty. Their stats were a little bit higher in a different,
like
area.
Egon could jump the highest. Bill Murray's character, help me out.
Was probably like more accurate or something, and
like they were different. Like one was balanced, one could jump higher, one was faster. This sort of thing.
Yeah. And what they did with Winston was first, my understanding is that they kind of used the same graphic features as they did for, I think, Egon. They blackfaced him, but that's kind of the way a video game art works.
Big heads in that game.
Exactly. And what they did was Winston is the average of those, so he's not really good at all of them, but he's proficient in all of them.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of clever from a game perspective and fits his character, right? He's the everyman.
Yeah. So this game does not have a quote-unquote official release. This is being made by fans. I would love it if this was made available, like, you know, as a download on modern consoles. Like, they could give you the original version of the game plus this new special edition as like a download.
I'd be really surprised. See, this is the kind of thing where I've heard of fans doing stuff like this, and then the game company saying, okay, we'll work with you and produce it and put it out commercially.
So here's what I want to say. Other companies don't like it, like Nintendo does not like it when fans do this sort of thing. Sega is more broad-minded. I remember this guy was making a special edition of Sonic CD. Chris Whitehead, I think his name was. They liked it so much that they did a general release of it. His exclusive levels they wanted to cut out of it, but they allowed him and they put him in charge of Sonic Mania, which was a brand new 2D Sonic game. So you can use those exclusive levels you're making in Sonic CD and put them in your new game you're working on. And for us, and basically they worked with the fan creator instead of against them. Do you understand? So
right.
Maybe the same can happen here. Unfortunately, Sony owns Ghostbusters, so they'd also have to work with Sony. So you're dealing with Sega and Sony. Is it impossible this game could come out? No. Maybe it
Actually, I don't think that complicates it as much as you might think. I don't think Sony cares.
Yeah.
They license it to Sega. If Sega is willing to work with the fan that created this,
it'd be a joint, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as Sony's concerned, it's Sega's baby, you know.
Yeah. And it would be cool if they re-released this game. It even had the Ghostbusters theme, but done in 16-bit chiptunes.
Yes.
You should listen to it sometime. It's funny.
Well, as a matter of fact, I don't remember. This article comes from Ghostbusters News. Definitely you should be following them on YouTube and check out their webpage. But they brought to light, I guess there was a music group that put out these albums of an album of the music of the Ghostbusters in this musical style. This
that's funny.
13-bit. 16-bit. I don't know my numbers. 16-bit style. Made it available as a download and on vinyl. And
funny.
So I got those because I just had to. Yeah.
All right, I'm off to bed. Well, good night, Matanui. Sorry I didn't say
take care, Matanui. Yeah. We are running a little bit over, but we're almost at the end.
Heading there. I'm going to try to fast track these next articles. Peter would have the highest sarcasm rating, absolutely.
Right, exactly.
But no, this is cool that they redone this game, and I'm thinking this should be a project Sega and Sony should work on at least modern consoles.
Yep.
Speaking of other properties I grew up with, though, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge is getting an upcoming DLC. So I guess this is going to be an expansion for the original game. I'm assuming you purchased this. I don't think I'm going to give it to you outright. But .emu and Tribute Games have only today announced last year's brilliant beat-em-up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is set to receive a whole new batch of totally tubular goodies in the upcoming Dimension Shell Shock DLC. Releasing later this year, the game's first complete DLC package is set to be a big one. Chief among the additions is a brand new playable character, Usagi Yojimbo, a sword-wielding rabbit that has fought alongside the turtles in both the comics and the animated series. The above trailer shows the fresh fighter leaping through portals and a sign of the DLC's other big feature, a new game mode. We don't have a lot of details about this edition just yet, apart from the fact that there will be a new style of interdimensional battles for the turtles to tackle.
Interesting.
And it looks like they're adding different color schemes for the turtles and more original music from the soundtrack's composer, T. Lopez. I have to tell you, I bought this game soundtrack for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and is
it good?
It has that late 80s, early 90s
nice
feel to it. There's a segment when I was playing the game, and I'm fighting, foot soldiers in the sky, and there's a power ballad with lyrics going on in the background about what I'm doing, and I lost it. It's like they're tracks that are like 80s power ballads or metal songs. There are other tracks that are hip hop, and it's an incredible.
That's awesome.
It's worth checking out, and I love this game to death. It's like that old It's basically like a spiritual sequel to the old Turtles beat 'em up arcade game.
Yeah, which I liked. Yeah, exactly.
So definitely looking forward to this DLC, and I will be picking it up. I don't think I'll even wait for sale. I'll probably just buy it at launch.
Awesome.
Provided I have a TV to play it on at the moment. But,
No.
let's move on to Warhammer Bolt Gun. I'm not going to read too much about this article. I'm just letting you know that Warhammer Gun is out. You've heard of Warhammer 40K, right?
Yes.
Well, they made a boomer shooter based on it, and apparently it's very good. People are talking about it. So it's done to look like a 90s style boomer, first-person shooter that's based on Warhammer 40,000.
Well, you don't have to take Age of Boomer's word for it. Here's the launch trailer, so you can check it out for yourself.
Yeah, the launch trailer is pretty cool. It's a guy screaming bolt gun. And now, obviously, the funny thing about these boomer shooters, though, even though they're made with the old style graphics and look old, they probably couldn't have run on the old hardware.
Yeah, probably true. Probably true.
Some
Yeah.
of them can actually. They have moments where you can dumb it down to the old hardware standards, but this one I think is strictly it's a physical thing, but it looks really neat. The reviewer says that okay, tearing through dumb as rock soldiers and demons, stomping around armored boots and sound like a mid-90s Nine Inch Nails rhythm track, losing track of time in the depths of a catacomb. You can't go home again, but Bolt Gun gave me the occasion sense that I was back in front of a CRT monitor and Creative Lab speakers, annoying everybody with an earshot. I had not previously indulged in the retro shooter genre, alternatively, unfortunately labeled boomer shooters, hence my namesake, in case you're wondering, on this channel. But I can't imagine many hit their marks as well as Bolt Gun. The primary mechanic is killing things, and everything feeds that mechanic or tries to not distract from it. It's a game with absolutely zero ludonarrative dissonance. Its genre and Warhammer trappings don't turn you off entirely, and I wager you will enjoy it. And I imagine for you Warhammer fans out there, this is a nice treat. You can get it on PC, you can get it on every major console out there too, so I don't know. Did you like the trailer for this? Did you watch the trailer?
It looked good, yeah.
Yeah. A very, very, very mid to late 90s trailer with the guy screaming bolt gun every 5 minutes. But it's a neat little review this guy has, but we're running out of time.
Yeah, I'm sure Henry Cavill will be loving this game.
Yeah, he does build his own PCs, doesn't he?
And he loves Warhammer. So, yeah, this one, honestly, just
what?
This next article, I just had I don't even know what to say. Go ahead, just take it away.
To me, we had other Grimace articles that you excised. This is all that remains, so I'm going to read it.
Well, I didn't know. I'm sure you didn't want me to put all of them in here. I mean, we could be talking about Grimace all night. We should have made Grimace and McDonald's our good old days if you wanted to get this in. I don't know what this is. Go ahead.
Okay. No, you're not reading that headline incorrectly. Fast food giant McDonald's has just released a Game Boy Color game in the year of our Lord 2023, developed by Cruel.
Game Boy, that thing from the 90s, right?
Yes, basically. This is the Game Boy Color, but it's still a 90s era system, yeah.
Jeez.
Developed by Cruel Toys, Grimace's birthday launched yesterday via its own website. You can play the game in your browser, but the game itself was built to function on Nintendo's 1990 handheld, and the ROM image has been dumped online, so you can just do that. The game is a platformer which sees the return of McDonaldland characters Grimace, Birdie the Early Bird, Hamburglar, and the McNugget Buddies, all to mark the arrival of Grimace's birthday ice cream shake product served at U.S. McDonald's restaurants. The game is the work of Gumpy Function, Tom Lockwood, and periodic Brian Taylor, both of whom have worked on modern Game Boy games in the past. Yeah, so you can actually try out a Game Boy recreation through a web browser. Or you could probably download the ROM if you want and figure out a way to play it on an actual Game Boy. But what do you think, huh? Grimace's birthday?
I am curious about this Grimace purple milkshake, but other than that,
I don't know if you have to buy the Grimace meal to get it, but if you get the Grimace meal, you can get either 10 Chick McNuggets or a Big Mac and a large fries.
I'll take the Big Mac, thanks.
You don't like the nuggets there?
They're okay. It's just not my thing, you know.
I like the barbecue.
If I want chicken, I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A. Or maybe not these days. I don't know. I don't know where I can go anymore.
KFC?
Yeah, I still like KFC.
Apparently they have nuggets at KFC now that are pretty good. Like they introduced new nuggets.
If I'm going to go to KFC, though, I'm just going to get some regular, traditional KFC, the legs, breast, thigh, and wing.
I'd go to Popeyes, but I don't have 2 hours to spend waiting in a drive-thru. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Oh, jeez, are they that bad where you're at? And then ours are few and far between here in our area.
They'll be good out of the ghost pepper wings.
Are those good?
They were pretty good, actually. They were a guilty pleasure. They're hot, though. Someone saw me eating them at work, and they said, "Your face is turning bright red." That's what they told me.
Well, yeah, those of you that don't know what Agent Boomer looks like in real life, you've got that kind of complexion.
It's a ginger complexion.
It's that ginger complexion, kind of pale skin. So, yeah, your blood pressure goes up just a little bit. You blush, you sweat, you turn red, yeah.
A Game Boy Color game. What is this, 1998? Pretty much.
Exactly, Auditor Dread. That's the whole point here.
Yeah, but Grimace's birthday. He's a cherished character in our popular culture. Actually,
for those that actually still remember the Ronald McDonald characters anymore, when were they last seen? 15 years ago?
Yeah, they've been in hiding lately.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen them since the pandemic started.
No, it was before the pandemic, man.
All right, go to the last one. Let's do this. First teaser for Skull Island anime brings the monster action to Netflix. I feel like anime should be in quotation marks here, but...
Yeah, they talked about that on Midnight's Edge, the fact that... people, call anything in the United States, they call any animation that implies or makes you think of Japanese animation style as anime.
I mean, it may be influenced by anime, but if anime is now including things that aren't Japanese animation, then I'll stop using the term anime to describe Japanese animation. But anyway, I'm not saying the series is bad. I'm just saying that, let's go into it. 2017 gave fans their first trip to Skull Island. In the aptly titled Con Skull Island, a strange land introduced us to monsters of all varieties in a lush and mysterious jungle settings. Dangers? Of course there were dangers. But there was also the mighty Titan Khan, there to protect his home, and eventually the humans who arrived. Now viewers get to go back to the island that time, forget in the new Netflix animated series Skull Island from Powerhouse Animation, the folks behind Castlevania. Check out the first teaser. The series, which also will debut June 22nd, will take audiences back to a whole new world of thrills and dangers. The story follows a group of kind-hearted explorers who rescue Annie Mae Whitman from the ocean, unaware that their act of heroism will lead to the treacherous Skull Island. The rest of the star-studded cast includes Darren Barnett, Never Have I Ever, Samurai Rabbit. I don't know what this is. Okay, as Mike. Okay, so it's got some voice actors in it.
Yeah.
Together they bring these vibrant characters to life and embark on a captivating journey. The show's poster art showcases not just Kong, but many other giant monsters the crew will have to deal with. Everybody's old pal and skull crawler is there naturally. We also get giant lizards, birds, and crabs, and what looks like a cute dog of some kind. Unclear either way. We can't wait to check out Skull Island to see what adventures Kong and company get up to next. You had sent me a link to a Kong cartoon.
Yeah, so back in 1966, there was a King Kong cartoon series. It was syndicated here in the States in the 70s, but it came from Toei. Toei, is that how?
Japanese animation studio.
Yeah, so that, I guess you really could call anime. It wasn't in the anime style, though. But...
No, here's what it is. A lot of the time, American studios, they would farm out. Like a lot of Batman, the animated series episodes were actually animated in Japan, I think, and maybe in some other countries as well, but a number of them were animated in Japan. And I still consider those American cartoons because they're made primarily for an American audience. And, they were just the hired help. And now it's kind of funny. Now we're living in an age where we have an American animation studio based in Texas trying to make a cartoon look like it's Japanese, whereas the old days it was a Japanese animation studio making a cartoon that looks like it was made in America.
Interesting. I always associated that kind of art style with Japan because I was thinking like Speed Racer and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
Battle of the Planets, for example, I did not realize that their intent was to make it look like
Oh,
it was
no.
American.
No. Battle of the Planets was a Japanese animated series.
Yeah, it
It
was.
was called Gotcha Man in Japan. So
Yes,
was
it
Speed
was.
Racer. But I actually, for all I know, this Kong series was also made in Japan. Was that? I don't know. I don't know much about it. Maybe it was made for a Japanese audience and farmed out over here. I don't know.
It was. Here's the interesting. So again, it was Toei Studios, but it was produced by, believe it or not, Rankin and Bass.
There you go. And they
So
also did Hobbit, which was also done. Animation for that was done in Japan as well. Yeah.
right, and here's the interesting thing. Here's the other Rankin and Bass relationship. The voice of the main character, Bobby Bond, the little boy who befriends Kong. The voice actress was Billy Mae Richards, the same voice actress that voiced Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that 66 just on YouTube after we're wrapping up now, so afterwards you can go check it out. Just check on YouTube for King Kong animated series. You'll find it. It's all on YouTube. You can check it out.
I was getting a Johnny Quest vibe from it.
Yeah, there clearly was some influence there. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
That whole 1960s era animation where, it's always about kids going on big adventures. That was a thing.
Right.
And it's funny, the Venture Brothers lampoons that mercilessly, that whole genre. You ever watch
it? Kind of makes sense, yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, definitely worth checking out. I don't know if this is going to be, but, could be good.
It could be good, could be bad. I don't know. We'll see.
But if you are going to go check it out on YouTube, the 66 one that I was talking about, only watch 1 or 2 episodes because in about a half hour over on
Deleted Scenes,
it's The Other Side of Midnight, so you don't have long. You can get maybe 1 episode in, maybe the first half of the pilot. But then hopefully you get over to Deleted Scenes I won't be there very long. I can't stay up late tonight, but I will stop in for at least a little bit.
There's a Venture Brothers movie coming out soon. Yeah, I heard about that. I need to get caught up on that show, though. I don't think I saw the last season. I'm trying to think what else, though. You know what was funny about Kong Skull Island when that came out? That was considered a big marketing snafu by Warner Brothers because, for starters, people didn't even know it took place in the Godzilla universe.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people had the impression, because of the timing of it, they thought it might have been considered to be a sequel to the Peter Jackson, and it's not. It's not. I mean, it kind of is. It does reference the Peter, or imply a reference to the, if not the Peter Jackson, at least the overall 1930s, King Kong. There might even be some references to the 77 remake, if you want to call it that.
I remember.
But no, surprisingly, no references to King Kong Lives with Linda Hamilton, which is definitely worth checking out if you want to see more Linda Hamilton, if you follow my meaning.
The first 77 one, though, right?
Pardon me?
Jessica Lange was in the other one, right?
Jessica Lange was she played the female lead that Kong, that was a Fay Ray role basically, but
he falls in love with her, right?
Exactly, and obviously he has a type because Linda Hamilton in the next movie, and so yeah, definitely worth getting a high quality so that you can pause. And watch frame by frame certain scenes. Just saying. I'm not saying how I know that. I'm just, that's what I've heard.
All right, so we got Other Side of Midnight after tonight. What's going on tomorrow? Anything?
Not that I don't know anything Monday, Tuesday. Do you know if there's? I know Birdman's been struggling with some stuff. So
yeah, some health issues. Keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Just as he tries to get through this.
So anything on on Wednesday?
Wednesday, no, not until further notice.
Okay, so then Netter and I will be on a Pacific 414's channel earlier that evening. So even if Birdman does decide to go live later Wednesday night, this will be before. This will be 5 Central, 6 Eastern. Boomer, you might make it for a little bit, right?
I mean, I get out of work late that day, but I might be able to stop by for part of it as long as Birdman doesn't have a stream that night. I can stop by.
Sure. And
Send
then
me the link in case he doesn't have my contact. All right.
Yep. And Thursday over on Netter's Network, her special guest is going to be the Potawatomi, who I don't know if you're still here, buddy, but you were here earlier. And we'll be talking bubblegum and trading cards, and who knows what else we'll be talking about.
Oh, that's a neat subject. I was talking about those Temple of Doom trading cards I used to get.
Absolutely. So we'll be talking about some of that stuff on Thursday. Friday, back over to my channel. Don't know what we'll be talking about. In fact, Boomer and I are probably going to talk about that in a few minutes, but doesn't matter. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure there will be drinking, there will be music, there will be fun had by all. At least I like to hope. It's fun to hang out with you guys, so come hang out with me on Friday night.
Cool.
Saturday night, over on, is it Netter's Network this week? Yes. Nope. This was her last one. I'm sorry. Forget I said this. Don't go to, well, I mean, you can go to that if you want to pull out your own copy of Bells on Her Toes, but no. What is your next stream, Netter?
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes, this Saturday, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I haven't updated the...
By Ian Fleming.
It was an Ian Fleming. Was it? Or was it Roald Dahl?
No, that was Ian Fleming.
Was it Ian Fleming?
Ian Fleming knew Roald Dahl, though. They knew each other.
They absolutely did. They definitely did chew some of the same ground in World War II. So there you go.
Boy.
And
I hate that word scrumptious. Truly scrumptious.
Truly scrumptious.
I don't like that word. I don't know what it is about the sound of scrumptious. Oh, I keep saying it. I gotta stop.
Okay. And then, of course, come around to next Sunday with Unscripted with Deleted Scenes. Episode 19, we don't know what the topic is just yet. At least I don't. Deleted Scenes, if you know.
About the future of Ezra Miller's career.
Yeah, right.
That'd be a 2-second stream. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Okay, no one else has said this. I'm going to say this right now. Ezra Miller... as creepy as he is, and all of the, transy type, non-binary and children thing, and then putting him in a movie called The Flash. That is not smart. Just saying. But Deleted Seeds, next week, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, to lead us into, he said he usually decides by Thursday night. That's fair. But you know what? Just subscribe to his channel.
Over to his channel.
And then he'll lead us into Geeky Geezers back here next week.
Don't know what we'll be talking about next week. It should be a surprise. I'm sure there'll be happenings. What comes out next Friday?
I don't know.
It's not Indiana Jones yet. That's the following week.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We'll talk. Maybe it's that Jennifer Lawrence comedy movie coming out.
Yeah. That.
Y'all have a.
She's the first woman to ever appear in a comedy film, I understand.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.